All right. Good morning, beautiful purple people, or pretty purple people. Sorry, we gotta keep it consistent with the P's.
I seen someone make a meme on your on the Polygon purple people or something like that recently.
They made a what?
But I think they made a meme.
Oh, nice.
They posted something. Yeah, it said Polygon purple people on one of my posts. So I think your saying is becoming more prevalent now.
Nice. I mean, yeah, you got to start the trends, right? I mean, you started all roads lead to Polygon. That phrase, I think, like a year or two before we even started the show.
Yeah, and you resurrected it.
Yeah.
But good times. I'm ready to get this DePin episode going. I've been wanting to dive deep into DePin for a while, so it's going to be a really educational show.
There's definitely some puns.
Jokes.
There's definitely some puns we could use with DePin, and I won't go there though. Deep in your
Good times. Well, let's go. Friday, it's here. All right, so I just want to say a massive shout out to Polygon being here, supporting us, the QuickSwap team. Right off the bat, we don't usually do this right off the bat, so I just want to take a little time today, feeling thankful for everyone that puts in all the hard work to make this show go. And so massive shout out to Polygon, QuickSwap team, Darren, Marshall, Tristan, everyone at Polygon, Pixu, Anu, and Rock. Massive shout out to you too. And massive shout out to everyone that knew that the Bitcoin ETFs were coming. So, now it's the Ethereum ETF. So I'm excited to see the Ethereum ETF come soon.
shout out to you, Aztec. All right, let's go.
Yeah, do you want me to start introducing everyone?
Sure. Yeah, we
Cool.
can start. Are you asking me to do it, or you want to do it, or?
Oh no! I'm just saying if it's a good time. Or do you have
Let's do it.
Cool. So right before we start introducing everyone, I usually go from left to right on my screen. There's no real order other than just going left to right. I do want to shout out QuickSwap. Recently had a big announcement yesterday. That's in the Jumbotron up above. We also have some threads that we found that were really educational up above in the Jumbotron. Any of the teams that have any threads that they think would help people from an educational standpoint kind of dive into DePin, please go ahead and post them above in the Jumbotron. You could also DM me if you don't know how to do that, and I'll get it in the Jumbotron above. But we want to take about 30 seconds here to go ahead, give everyone about 30 seconds to introduce themselves, let the Polygon community, Ethereum community, everyone here, I know what you're doing in this space. So I'm going to go left to right, start off with Wi-Fi Matt. Welcome to All Roads Lead to Polygon.
Hey guys, thanks for having us on. My name is Dennis. I'm the CEO and founder of Wi-Fi Map. Also wanted to thank Polygon and QuickSwap for hosting these events. I find them very educational. Glad to be here.
Definitely, it's good to have you here. What's like the elevator pitch for Wi-Fi Map?
So we're helping people worldwide to get access to free and available internet in venues worldwide. And we've introduced our utility token earlier last year with the intent of rewarding the most active contributors in our ecosystem for mapping Wi-Fi's and allowing them to spend that utility token inside of our ecosystem for eSIM data plans that we offer in over 80 countries worldwide.
Very cool. Sounds like a huge a huge solution for the world. So that's awesome. I can't wait to kind of dive into that a bit more. But yeah, thank you for that information. I guess we can go ahead and pass the mic on over to AOZ Network, or do you guys pronounce it AIOZ Network?
Yes, hi. Thanks. This is Arman Chiputra. I'm the founder of AOS Network. So thank you everyone for joining, and especially a big thank you to Polygon community. Allow me to explain more about what we do. AOS Network is a DePin, basically for Web3, AI, computation, storage in S3 and IPFS pinning, and also in streaming, so in video on demand and live streaming. We aim to be the infrastructure of choice for Web3 projects out there. In particular, communicating with you and the Polygon community, how we can collaborate. Basically, we are powered by this network of the pins, right? Anyone with a device on OS of Windows, a Mac, or Linux, you can download, install, and run it. The pin node application actually uses the three main categories, which is SSD, HDD for storage, and then we have the GPU. We're going to use the GPU for transcoding as well for AI computation. And then, of course, the most important is bandwidth delivery, all of which the AOS will reward the nodes, the pins, for the computational resources. Yes, thank you.
Awesome. That sounds like a really great project as well. And I can't wait to really dive into all these projects. It really is something that's been on my DD list for a while. Really dive deep into DePin.
This is the first space I think we've had with this panel. Am I wrong? Is this no repeat speakers from previous episodes over the last year? I think this is all new people.
Sure, I think so.
Yeah, this should be fun.
Good times. All right. Yeah, so we usually struggle to get past the introductions in the first 30 minutes. So it looks like we're well on our way to actually do this today. So let's go ahead and pass the mic on over to Euphorica.
Hey guys, great to be here. I'm Simon, co-founder and CEO of Euphorica. We've been building on Polygon since day one, so thank you so much to you guys for hosting this and for running the session. Euphorica is an entertainment company. We focus across three main verticals: Web3 gaming, platform ecosystem, technology. And for us, something that's particularly interesting about this topic is the fact that we are also working towards a peer-to-peer networking architecture, ultimately looking to leverage more power at the edge to enable a much more efficient experience for gamers whilst delivering a high graphics experience to them. So excited to dig into this topic today, and thanks so much, guys, for having us. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Yeah, great to have all of you guys here. I'm a big gamer, so great to hear that you guys are building for the gamers. But we'll go ahead and pass the mic on over to Pre-Rich Homicon.
Yeah, hey everyone. Great to be here. Thank you all for hosting. This is a huge space. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. My name's Connor. I'm the DePin lead in business development at IoTex. And what we're doing is building DePin and real-world asset-focused infrastructure, blockchain infrastructure. So we've got a whole kind of modular stack across a layer one blockchain that's EVM compatible, middleware, our own bridge, our own DEX, our own multi-chain wallet. So we're looking to basically combine all these tools to help DePin builders, DePin founders as much as we can and really accelerate the growth of the space. We've been around since 2017 or 2018, before DePin was even really a thing, and it was more around like IoT devices and data. And we've been really, really excited to see the whole space kind of emerge and coalesce around one term, which is DePin, which we're very happy about. And it's been great to work with projects like Wi-Fi Map here around their token liquidity and just finding other ways to help them increase their success.
Very nice, Connor. I've definitely heard of you guys' projects, so I know you guys have been building for a while. Excited to have you hear more. Let's go ahead and pass the mic on over to Michael C.
Hey, hello. Michael here, co-founder at Blockless. Thanks everyone for having me today. So, quick introduction about Blockless and what we're doing here. So, Blockless is really about enabling users to power applications they're using to contribute compute resources to these applications while they're using the apps, right? So, it's really about letting the users being able to contribute compute resources to their favorite applications right directly from their machines. And our work is all about making the compute decentralized and community power compute actually reliable. We did a lot of work on this in the past 2 years, and also making sure that we develop a comprehensive matchmaking algorithm, kind of like Uber, that match makes the drivers and also the riders. In our case, we're matchmaking the community power compute resources as well as the applications they want to power, right? Different workloads and different machines. How do we organically and dynamically match make the two together and to enable users, right? To when they're using the application, they're able to contribute compute to it. So that's in a nutshell what we're doing. Happy to elaborate more a bit later. Thanks.
Definitely. Yeah, sounds very interesting. So, going to be excited to hear more throughout the show. Let's go ahead and pass the mic on over to AK.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me today on the panel. My name is AK. I am a professional trader. I have multiple funds under my belt for the last 5 years or so, specifically targeting the crypto market and the growth of this ecosystems. One part of my background is I'm involved in the private equity space. Been doing it for over a decade, and work on a lot of projects also around the crypto space. Particularly in parts of about tokenization. We work in the luxury brands. We work in the media and real estate tokenization. So we've had a lot of experience with of course, growing this emerging technology and field. But primarily, I am focused on the trading, and we've successfully outpaced the markets for the last 5 years. So glad to be on this panel, and always happy to help projects grow and assist with liquidity or exposure, etc.
Very cool. It's a great 5 years to be outpacing the market. Plenty of great opportunities here. And it looks like there's a bunch of really great projects here. I'm an investor, so I love the education that I get on this show. Helping co-host with Rock here. It's really fun for the education, but also, we get to hear a lot of alpha. So excited to kind of dive into that aspect as well, of course. Let's go ahead and pass the mic on over to Ugo Chukwuwu.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm happy to be here. My name is Ugochukwu Arono. I'm the co-founder and CEO of YCrypt. YCrypt is actually a decentralized internet sharing and monetization network. What we do is that we allow people to share their Wi-Fi and to actually make money while doing it. YCrypt started in 2018. We built different parts of our tech, from our mobile applications to our YCrypt operating system to our hardware design. We've also made our operating system dynamic, so it can run on existing hardware depending on the hardware specifications. Right, and YCrypt is currently in over 30 countries. We started out in Nigeria. We're based in Nigeria. We are also backed by some members of the Polygon team. We started building on Polygon from day one, and currently also joined the Peak Network, IoTex. You can find YCrypt on DePin Scan, and we have over 1,300, I think almost 1,400 devices in 30 plus countries right now. And I'm very happy to be here and excited about what the space is going to be all about. Thank you.
For sure. Definitely excited to hear more. I see that there is some overlap and some, very interesting solutions that are here on the panel. So it's going to be interesting to hear how you guys do things slightly differently, or how you guys plan to kind of like scale and grow. But definitely great to hear that you're building on Polygon from day one. We love to hear that. Let's go ahead and pass the mic on over to Karnika.
Hey guys, glad to be here. So I'm Key and I've been in the space for last 10 years. We are focused on bringing the Web2 value to Web3. We have Forward Protocol, which helps people build a drag and drop no code using a no code solution, any dApps of their choice from a library of templates. So we already have tokenized over $250 million of real world assets and generated over $500,000 revenue in the Q4 of 2023. And we continue to expand in this arena. So we are super excited at anything that brings that value from the traditional world to the blockchain infrastructure. And to that extent, we set up an accelerator, Key Difference Labs in Dubai, to power and bring a lot of Web2 companies to Web3, and we have a fund that invests in them as well. So it's a complete ecosystem of infrastructure, acceleration, and investment that deals with the real world companies. Even go there or go back. So yeah, that's where we are.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you here, of course, and we'll be diving into more here. We have one more person it looks like to introduce, so I want to do that now. We can get everyone introduced before the 30-minute mark. Mitch, go ahead and take it away, please.
Hey guys, really great to be here. Good evening. I'm actually in Cape Town, South Africa, and I'm Key's partner. We worked together on Key Difference on the accelerator and co-founded Forward, and just really excited to be contributing and just learn from everybody here this evening. It really is a fascinating topic, and I believe one that's really pertinent and great to be here at the start of the bull and to be chatting about this. So I look forward to everyone's input.
Same here. I think this is going to be a bit of a technical space. A lot of knowledge, alpha, and education is going to be spread. So I think we can go ahead and kick this off, Rob. Going to jump into questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So just to let everyone know, if you're new to the show, we're past the introductions. So and we kind of have this dynamic kind of conversation. Anyone can answer these questions. You don't have to raise your hand. You can just jump in as you see fit. If you want to answer or you feel like you have something to add at any point, go ahead and do that. And so let's go ahead and jump into this. So what is the primary purpose of a DePin, decentralized physical infrastructure network? Anyone can take this. And we're kind of starting pretty simple here. I want to kick it off because I think as much as many of you guys have been building for a long time, the term is new for a lot of people. And I'll throw myself in the bus. It's more new for me. I have a very basic understanding of DePin. I think there's a lot of people in the audience that probably do as well.
I hadn't even heard of it until I don't know, the last couple months. I think it was when someone brought it up as a possible topic for the show. I hadn't even heard of it. So, but then again, I also hadn't heard of DeSci, and I am a science major. It was a science major in college. It was pre-med, and I hadn't heard of DeSci. So, this space is vast, and there's a lot of different subtopics and categories and things. So, yeah, we're here to learn, and we're not afraid to ask stupid questions. So, you guys might get some stupid questions, and this is why we got all you big brains here to teach us. So yeah, go ahead.
Exactly.
Go ahead. One of you can jump in. Let's go ahead, Euphorica, and then from here on out, you guys can raise your hands if you're having trouble jumping in, but otherwise, just jump in.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Well, look, I think in answer to the question, you've already heard from a number of speakers already the term peer-to-peer networking, and ultimately that's what DePin is, but just in a decentralized context. So, for us, it's about trying to meet hardware demand through an open and decentralized fashion, and that's what DePin is all about. And now we come at this from a gaming perspective. So we've been working on architecting our own custom game engine with an eye on this. And the reason that we are doing that is because we know that there is a lot of compute power that goes underutilized at the edge. Particularly when you think about high specs of a gaming PC. So can we explore how we use that more efficiently? And doing that in a peer-to-peer fashion, and then rewarding those users who have that available power through, and rewarding them through tokenization in order to do that. So, obviously this is a very complex technical discussion that we're having here, and I'm by no means the expert in the field on this. My game engine CTO would be better placed to answer this. But I think that is the primary purpose of a DePin. It's to utilize that peer-to-peer networking architecture, but do it in a decentralized way, so we can look at tokenized rewards to support users who want to contribute compute.
I think that's a very, very good explanation there. To add to it, I think it's a ripe time for even DePin to come in, because we already have all the resources needed. We have the blockchain infrastructure, we have the IoT, and that has progressed for many years. And if you look at the adoption in the real world is starting to happen without them having to know what it is. That simplicity has already set in. So this is the exact right time for something like DePin to start creating a momentum. Because now with this, it's collecting the data, moving the data on chain, and helping manage the resources appropriately. So the end goal is to bring the value in a distributed way, so that the private operators of decentralized physical networks or infrastructure are able to leverage that benefits of transparency and the divisibility that the blockchain brings. And it brings that ability for people to crowdsource things. So it's almost like in the middle meeting point of all the best things that the technology space has been evolving, not only in the blockchain, but even outside. And happy to see that it is starting to take a mainstream place right now.
Yeah, I think
Sure.
DePin is really
If I
about.
could add,
Oh, go ahead.
and I apologize for interrupting. Just to ask you, who are the operators? Is it just everyone that is using the network, or?
Oh no, operators can be like the Uber cars can be part of the system, or it can be any CCTV cameras, or it can be any physical device out there. All of those are technically the physical infrastructure that you can connect to the world of blockchain. So now imagine all that data being on chain in one way or other, or at least the sensitive data there that is quantifiable, measurable, that adds value to business insights. So think about it like a hybrid of IoT and business intelligence. And if that data can be used to bring in the element of reward or combined participation, all of that is what we're looking at here. So any physical thing, any physical infrastructure or even digital infrastructure that is currently adding value to the to a community of individuals.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that. Someone was jumping in there. Apologize.
Yeah, no worries. I think DePin's a super, super powerful idea. I mean, the title of the space is, basically, can DePin bring Web3 mainstream? A couple of question marks. And I think DePin is probably one of crypto's best chances to go truly mainstream, just because of how low the barrier to entry can be and how real world useful some of these applications can be as well. Like Wi-Fi Map, for instance, actually has one of the largest communities in crypto. I don't think many people know that, but they have 4 to 5 million monthly active users on their mobile app. They've been building for 7 or 8 years now, I think, and they were a Web2 company before. And now that they're a Web3 company and they have a token and a whole token economy, those 4 to 5 million monthly active users can earn tokens for their contributions. They can spend tokens for various services. And so they're participants in this token economy. They have a wallet, they're receiving and sending tokens. So it's just a great way to build real world value. And I think it really is one of crypto's best chances to go truly mainstream.
And
In terms of, yeah, go ahead.
and so with that, so they were just a regular app, and people would use this app to find Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi, and then they added a token. And I'm guessing, did they make that really simple? They didn't make you like, hey, 4 million users go buy ledgers. They probably said, hey, just use your hot wallet. We'll build a wallet into our app now, or what did they do there?
That's correct. That's somewhat what we've done. We have a wallet inside of our app. As we're still in the process, obviously, of transforming to Web3. We bring with us a huge demand side. In our case, it's just regular folks looking to connect to the internet, and to us, we cover that space through the help of Wi-Fi as well as the existing eSIM solutions, so embedded SIM cards. Uh, we see the future not necessarily just limited to hardware device implementation, but more of a combination of various connectivity uh, providers inside of our app. Um, to make it simple, I mean, the end user doesn't really care if you're connecting him Wi-Fi, LTE, 3G, 5G. All they need is internet access. They want to call their loved ones. They want to send an email. They want to check their their balance on the account. So um, we've been decentralized from day one. So our users were originally incentivized with just a point system to perform all of their actions. What utility token has done for us is that it tripled our crowdsource. So over the years, we had over 13 million people participating in our crowdsource. This year alone was like a 300% increase in number of contributors in our ecosystem. And so that's on the consumer side of things. In reality, all of this is generating a lot of data, Wi-Fi related data, speed test related data, and so on. Um, our plan is to start uploading a lot of this data onto blockchain to allow the new generation of builders to be utilizing this data for their dApps.
Yes, thank you. So let me add a little bit more color to the great content that being communicated by the host and the speakers. So actually, the pin is, I think, why now, right? I think the question is, 2024. Why didn't it happen in 2014 or 1994? Right? I mean, as a technology, it's not new, peer to peer, right? So, BitTorrent made it very very accessible, and pretty much the incentivization is content, right? I would share content, I would upload, I would download, I would seed. The word they use is seeding and sharing. So that was the main incentivization. And then came about blockchain technology. So for us, when we understand blockchain technology, is at the end of the day is a digital ledger, and it's validated across, a group of people. I mean, all the devices or users, validators. So I think when we have this blockchain technology came to into the inception and into the where we are today, it allows payment, right, in the 18-digit decimal points. If we were to apply, let's say, sharing of content using the Web2 world of, let's say, a credit card, they will charge a 3% transaction fee. It makes it very economically unfeasible, right? And that's why I think having this sort of like blockchain technology to attribute to the users who contribute resources in exchange, right, for the utility for the tokens, it creates this sort of network effect, and the unused resources sort of like I'll be going to my storeroom and like, hey, getting all my old PCs and my laptops and whatnot and power it for whichever network that satisfy what I want to do, right? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and then with crypto, you have the tokens. I mean, you kind of mentioned that, but it allows for kind of magical things like streaming payments. If you were to give someone a payment in DePin for bandwidth. You could give them, instead of once a month paying them, you can pay them for every, megabit they upload or download or whatever it is that you're trying to incentivize. Then also these tokens, they plug you into an entire other world of things where before, and this doesn't just go for DePin, this just goes for the whole, Web3 world. Is one of the big magical things about it is that it made this common, this standard, this token standard that now different projects can, whether they're in the DePin space, or whether they're in the DeFi space or DeSci space, or whether they're a bank or a stable coin or equity in a company or whatever it is, or a game, items in a game or whatever, they can all plug into this world where you can trade them with each other. So now, unlike having like old, Starbucks points or airline points, now we're seeing Starbucks on Polygon, their rewards, and you can move them on blockchains, and airlines, if you have miles, you could do something with it on a blockchain. You can stake it, or you could trade it, or you can trade it for something, get actual dollars for it, or stable coins or Bitcoin or whatever it is. So now, having this Web3 token infrastructure just allows a lot more stuff you can do with your points. And these points are not just points; they actually can be useful, like gasoline or oil. In they could power ecosystems, and they can be kind of interchanged in some cases as like either equity or your ownership in a company, or in a totally decentralized DAO. Yeah, there's just so many things you could do with Web3. It opens up a lot of different industries to whole new innovative things and collaboration between industries that wouldn't cross paths before.
Yeah, I love your explanation, Mark. And just to piggyback off that really quickly, I do want to let everyone know that we have many guests that are trying to get on the panel. We just add everyone to the panel, with like kind of first come first serve. So thank you for your patience. We do have other projects, talking like Eternity, Cloud, Fleek, Stratos. So we're going to go ahead and continue. We have 2 hours and 20 minutes left in the show, and plenty of great projects and GigaBrains that are coming. Just want to shout out some of the teams that are waiting right now. And I see a bunch of hands up here, so I think someone wanted to comment.
And that's no rush to the people on stage. We're just letting because a lot of different communities are here to hear certain projects. Their communities or their projects, or maybe a retweet they saw, so they're here waiting. So we're just letting everyone know. We'll get everyone up. We still got plenty of time. No worries. And and that's actually a good reminder too. Please retweet the space to your communities. And share it in your groups, and share it with your families, and all that. Help us spread this space, because it's a pretty interesting topic that I'm very happy to be diving into here.
Yeah, and if you want to help out, even if you can't retweet, a simple like if you want to click the purple button at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, just click that and click a like, or throw a comment on the post. Also, anyone in the space, if you have any questions for anyone up here, go ahead and comment below, and we'll try to get to those questions at some point during the show. This is we got a lot of really smart people here, so I know there's probably plenty of questions. But go ahead, Mitch. I think I saw your hand.
Yeah.
I think you were going to jump in.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's funny, when I first actually got into the space, I come from a completely offline background, and it was completely confusing to me. And I think maybe a lot of people listening, even though there's a huge amount of technicality here, the beautiful thing about DePin is that it can really abstract away the technical part of it, because people understand things like dash cams, and they understand things like Wi-Fi, because they things they use every single day. And I mean, your title now, bringing sort of Web3 to mainstream, I think this is an amazing opportunity to allow people that are maybe fearful and don't really understand how the industry works, what it's all about, to introduce them to it in a very non-threatening way with things that they actually do every single day. I mean, if you came to me as an outsider completely and you said, look, if you install a webcam on your dashboard and you connect to HiveMapper, you can maybe pay your petrol money. That'd be quite interesting to me as a normal Joe Blogs. I would really say, wow, how does that work? I wouldn't need to know anything about whether it's blockchain, etc., because I'm assuming that HiveMapper would actually help me and encourage me to be part of the ecosystem and take me through an onboarding process that's very native and intuitive to me. And I think the opportunity here, and I'm speaking purely from a person that would be in the mainstream, people that would say, you know what, how do I become part of this economy? And as it grows, how do I become and do more things in it? So, you could imagine that somebody that wanted to really get involved might take a small step and start by connecting with a dash cam, for example. But once they get some success, would very quickly move to, installing a Wi-Fi router and becoming part of that ecosystem. And then moving from there. And I think when that starts happening, and mainstream really starts adopting this, you find that the thing that's really going to drive this is token prices need to stay high, because that's the fuel in the system. And when that happens, the networks will expand, because all of a sudden the crowdsourcing side of it grows exponentially, and you have funding coming in, you have users coming in, and you have the expansion of the technology, which is really important. And that sends a very strong message to the market about the industry, about Web3, what's happening. And I think that'll encourage people, just average people, to take that first step in, instead of being intimidated, to find a logical first step into an industry that we all know is amazing and is exciting, but is very daunting to a lot of people out there.
I like what you said, that there's a lot of what we're dealing with here are infrastructure pieces that most people use daily. I like that. And also another thing you said, I agree. I believe that this is, listening to you guys here, this is probably one of those categories in crypto where, the adoption really, as it increases, really helps bring the price of the token up. So all exciting things, and a great explanation there, Mitch. Whoever
And I
wants to
think,
jump in.
Yeah,
I think since you're mentioning how crypto adoption is, how DePin is driving crypto adoption, kind of want to bring in a more crypto or blockchain centric perspective, since we're talking to a Polygon crowd, right? And till now, basically, blockchain's primary use case has been decentralized finance, right? Since Bitcoin is about allowing you to permissionlessly move money, right? And then Ethereum adding smart contracts to allow you to have automated bookkeeping, right? Automation and programmability when it comes to moving things around in the distributed ledger. And everything has been about finance, about money, right? And DePin here, I think, is really about changing the ownership dynamic in various non-financial services, right? From one that's centralized and monopolized to one that allows the users to become the supplier and owner of a platform. And I would say this is really the first time we see in Web3 that we're having a wave of non-financial applications, right? Other than DeFi, that is really becoming tangible to the general public, like what our previous speakers have said. And I think this is really interesting, as Bitcoin and Ethereum offering an alternative, right, to fiat currencies back in the day. And now DePin is really serving as the next step to broaden the scope of Web3, right, to non-financial services. And people now with DePin projects, various initiatives, right, they don't need to rely on big corporations or government for services like Wi-Fi, computing resources, storage, transportation, and so on, right? So I think this is really a big shift in where Web3 is going and where adoption can lead us.
Yeah, great point. AK, yeah, go ahead and jump
Yeah,
in.
well, you see, prior to this, the word DePin is not a word that's common, in what I do on a daily basis. But essentially, we are very deep in the DePin world. One of the projects that I support and help incubate and grow is actually a project that's called Faith Tribe. What it is, it's actually democratizing fashion in the metaverse. And what they do is it's an open source design platform that empowers and rewards independent creators, fashion designers in the metaverse and the physical realm. Being, of course, the first fully decentralized and community owned ecosystem for the collaborative creation of fashion items. I know that this definitely falls in within the deep pin discussions. I know that it's also being offered on the Polygon network. The Faith, coin or Faith Tribe coin that we've been incubating allows creators to design, customize, mint, and distribute their own digital and physical fashion. So, providing access to these wide range of tools in the Web 3.0, off-chain and on-chain solutions, as well as partnerships for sustainable practices. I believe some of these projects, and a lot of them, of course, their missions are to really enhance productivity and commercial success for a lot of their users. A very, very big supporter of the space and looking to
Hey,
grow.
AK, I got a question for you, bro. So, you're investor. You're at the beginning of the show talking about uh, doing well, in this space over the last 5 years. What's the top two things you're looking at? When you're looking to invest into a deep end project, what are the top two things? I think people, a lot of people are here for the education, but of course, there's a lot of investors here. So, what are you looking at?
Of course. So in particular, I am not a huge DePin investor. I am new to the space, but I do love to cultivate projects that obviously have history and have utility and a real reason to be existent in this ecosystem. So for to give you my own case on why I picked a coin like or token like the Faith Tribe token. Because it's a 20-year-old brand. They've been around for a long time. They've put lots of money into their own physical infrastructure investments. They have global presence. And essentially, what they did, when they joined into the blockchain, I believe it was back in 2021, it was so that they could increase their liquidity pool and allow creators as well as investors to be able to grow the ideas of all of these independent fashion designers that, is an insanely underserved market when you look at the world of fashion. So in this particular case, it's a $3 trillion market that's essentially controlled by about 11 companies. And the independent designer market's a $500 billion market that is untapped because there's nobody cultivating these independent designers. So in my thesis to invest in this particular company, I saw the real world, transition to being able to raise liquidity, be able to provide an ecosystem for the designers to be able to bring their products to life, actually manufacture them, and be able to get them out to the real world. So anything that has a best case, a real world case, I love to back. I'm just a deep value investing type of guy. I come from a private equity finance like background, traditional finance background. What brought me into the crypto space originally was DeFi, and that's how I really started getting big into the space, the lendings, the stakings, and of course, as you all know, the bull run came and took everything with it after COVID. So, we love projects that are real. We don't like to pump any, or not pump. We don't like to invest in anything that is just really not making any free cash flow or has any real value.
I like that you're bringing a lot of that traditional wisdom over. And great,
And then he
great
snuck in
info.
a nice shill there. We'll let that one slide.
Good
Hey,
times.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
have a question. If I could jump in, Aztec, with a
yeah.
question. So I actually asked this online recently, and actually someone who's requested Binzu underscore notbox. He actually answered the question on I think it was like a random thread. I don't think it was about this space. I think it was a random thread. But the question was, what is the difference between this and IoT? Because in like 2016 and 17, you had a bunch of projects that were talking about, how Web3 would be used in IoT, and that was like a big theme. You had IOTA, if people remember, that was a big one. They were like a DAG, I think decentralized acyclical graph, whatever. But anyways, they were a different kind of blockchain. Not really a blockchain, actually. It was like a graph infrastructure, but same, a different way of looking at blockchains that I think Hedera does the same thing, right? But anyways, they were Internet of Things, and we were going to have all your stuff, your dishwasher and your refrigerator and your Wi-Fi, and everything would communicate, and it would all happen on blockchain. And then that all died off, and that never happened. And then now we're here with DePin, and it feels like the same narrative over again. And sometimes that makes sense, right? Sometimes the world's not ready for things, and now Web3 is being more recognized and more supported. So maybe now there's a chance of this happening. But to me, DePin feels a lot like IoT. Just is the difference just that this is decentralized IoT? And if so, why not call it like DIoT? Because everybody knows IoT.
I think, guys, one of the important factors that I believe is that's been missed here is that the value is different when we talk about the value proportion with IoT and what we're seeing here. At this point, you have Starbucks points or you have an airline points. They're all independent. They're all sitting separately. But imagine with the power of DePin, they all are cryptocurrencies. They're all available out there with its own value, integratable with others. They can trade it. Okay, something is not valuable. People are going to sell that in the secondary market. They might gain the points. They might earn those rewards, but they don't want to keep it because they don't see that to be useful for them to use anywhere, which ideally kind of forces the businesses around the world to focus on the value for that points. It's the same question that we have with the existing crypto. Is there a value for it? Is there a utility for it? And the same question asked back to this reward point, guys. And now there is a new thought process that goes around there and how each of those things interact and what is an integration with DeFi there and so on. So that's one of the perspectives that I definitely like to emphasize on. Because the other part of the other journey here is the UBI, Universal Basic Income. I believe DePin is an important tool that can push that whole objective of making that UBI possible. Imagine a user sharing the mobile data information, network information, and then they are able to earn money there. And someone is traveling in the car, they're able to share the traffic stats in the journey in their roads, and they're able to earn money there. And they keep doing this across board. They look at a ship and they take a photograph of that, and the shipping company pays them for the tracking of the ship. And you can imagine almost hundreds of different jobs out there, even thousands of different jobs out there, which can be part of a micro job economy of individuals as they travel around the world or as they go through their normal day. And all of this are creating an universal basal income for an individual in a way which is inherent to an routine or lifestyle of the people around. So both the value that is derived and the force of value that the businesses have to provide for the loyalty points and the UBI, both together, I believe, acts as a very powerful force to bring DePin into reality, much stronger than what IoT played. Because IoT is a device that you could use as a comfort, you could get some data, etc., but it can never bring that motivation. It can never align the psychology in the same way DePin can. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's
Also,
kind of
if
what
I
I
may,
was.
oh, sorry.
It's kind of what I was saying earlier, where if you had points before, well, you talked about a few things there, but if you had points and those points couldn't be used in anything, they're not that valuable. Like airline points are, yeah, that's cool. You could use them to fly, but you might not fly often. You might forget. You might not use that airline. But if those airline points or those Wi-Fi points or whatever can now be used in other things, they're a lot more valuable. It's kind of like if you were to buy a car and that car couldn't be sold on a secondary market, cars wouldn't be as valuable. The fact that you can sell it later makes it more valuable, or the fact that you could lend it out makes it more valuable. Same thing with game points, right? Or skins. Skins right now, they're limited in usefulness, because you can use that skin, but if you stop playing that game, you're stuck with it usually. But when you Web3ify skins, now you can trade them with people. They could gain value over time. They can have rarities. So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that that in regards to IoT, and I'm not a big expert in IoT, but at least from my standpoint, is that the technology was there and the demand simply wasn't, right? So in our case, in the DePin sector, we're trying to transform and innovate things that are being used already on a daily basis, whether it's telco infrastructure, whether it's storage, or it might be means of gathering data that are now totally different from the old ways. I think that's where the real power comes into play, is that most of us are working with real use cases where the demand is not that we don't need to imagine that demand to be here 3 or 5 years. It's here today, and we have the opportunity to through the use of blockchain to take this infrastructure of telco storage data gatherings to a totally different level.
Yeah, I'm just going to add to that as well,
Yeah.
actually, if that's okay, guys. Just because around Internet of Things. So I think, yeah, the reason that didn't really take off is ultimately it was the whole premise was around centralization. So when we think about value accrual, which was something we were talking about a moment ago, that's the real benefit to DePin. It's the value that it presents to the user, and that's its use case, and that's why it's so valuable. And I think just touching on a point that was made a little earlier as well around the average user being intimidated by engaging with blockchain technology. I think yes, that has been the case, but we have to remember the pace of innovation in this space has been absolutely phenomenal. And as a result of that, it's becoming more and more user friendly for users to actually engage with the space and understand how tokenization can benefit them. And I think obviously that's going to grow more and more as things evolve. But I think that's why the DePin conversation is so relevant now, because it's the value accrual to the user.
Yeah, just to add a little bit to this point, I think IoTs, right? Especially when you're dealing with the technical points of IoTs, deal mostly with things like your sensors. You're just mostly just gathering data, right? Like small data points. I think the whole idea of DePin, right? DePin, it's a much larger scope, or covers a much larger scope, right? So you could say that the IoTs are within the decentralized physical infrastructure network. It's part of it. To just give you like a small example, and or just to also tie into what Mitch said about making this system, some like a decentralized physical infrastructure network should be something that people can even plug into without, they might not even know, okay, there's a blockchain related thing there, because it's what they use on a daily basis. I mean, talking about something that we do, which is Ycrypt, we have it's your regular Wi-Fi, your routers, right? But these routers now have an embedded or a customized operating system that anybody can use, both for Web 2 and also for the Web 3 part, right? Now, with these operating systems, we even now have telcos that are using the operating systems, but not for crypto at the moment, but they can always just click and activate, right? And earn rewards for performing the same actions, right? So the decentralized physical infrastructure network, as a DePin, is a much larger scope, and people can easily plug in without necessarily even knowing that maybe they're interacting with a blockchain network, right? It's something that people can easily just maybe go to the market or go to a store, purchase a Wi-Fi device, and then it has like Ycrypt enabled within it, right? And you can use it for your regular internet. You can browse, go to Netflix and everything, and it creates value for you.
Well, you say it's really easy, but that doesn't actually. I'm just gonna try to be fair here. That doesn't sound that easy. Like as a I'm a pretty technical person. I've been in like the internet since before when my parents were mad at me for like using the internet because they thought it was like a waste of time in 1996 or 7. And to me, telling someone, hey, go to some store and buy some special router and then try to plug that into. Most people are like, okay, whatever. Spectrum or whatever comes out, they give me my router, I just plug it in and that's it. But you're telling them they need a special one, so I'm wondering,
So like
do these routers have do normal routers have this kind of stuff built in, or maybe that's really the next step is as our devices, as Web3 progresses, this kind of stuff will be a lot easier because you won't have to buy a special router. All routers will support this, right?
So all
Same with, you won't have to buy a special phone. All phones will have a special separated chip, which will give you a hardware wallet inside of your phone, right? These kind of things will make adoption, truly mainstream.
Yeah. So to support like what you're saying, right? You don't need to buy a special router. Actually, all your regular routers, let's say your D-Link routers. Actually, when we started with this, we didn't even have our own router. We were just deploying the operating system on existing routers, so it works. It can work out. Like I said, some manufacturers are already leveraging the system. They're licensing it, and they're putting it on their existing hardware that they sell to people. So that's the whole point. That's the ease. You don't actually have to go and look for a special kind of router. Automatically, it supports it, and that's what I mean by the whole DePin. Just like someone mentioned another project, I think like a dash cam. In the past, you would need to when Google was mapping, right? Or I know they're still mapping. You have like the phones, the apps, and all that. Now you can just have your regular dash cam, and it does the same thing. So that's the same way, like with the router, you don't need any special maybe device and all that. It's not necessary.
So are you saying so you're saying on that just to zoom in on that the dash cam thing, because I didn't fully follow. So are you saying regular people who have dash cams can contribute to Google Earth data, basically, like the street view?
So not Google Earth. Now I'm talking about like Hive Mapper, right? To their own mapping system, right? Before you had to use the Google. I mean, Google had to you had to sign up on Google, part of their team. But now you can now use the Hive Mapper to make it work. So that's the same way, like with
Hive Map. What is that? Can you say that again? I'm gonna look that up.
That's a blockchain project.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Hive.
Hive. Yeah. So these are like, for me, these are like the real values. And the Hive Mapper has like a camera, right? It's more like an IoT thing. It has a camera, it receives data input. The same thing like with your Wi-Fi device. It's your regular Wi-Fi device. There's nothing different except the software that powers it. And then there's one more thing I actually wanted to add that makes
wait, what does this do, Hive Mapper? I'm not so I'm looking at the web, so hivemapper.com. So what's the point of it? Is it to
it's a
like
mapping?
Yeah, so it's a mapper. So what it does, it allows you to pick up like data input from your environment, and then it builds a map, just like Google builds a map, right? But in a decentralized way, so anybody can build that map.
Yeah, while you're driving around.
While you're driving around, yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but
and this is DePin. Is that what? Yes.
Yeah, it's part of DePin. Exactly, it's part of DePin, right?
It's a cool website, actually.
I know you were going to make one more point. I do want to just shout out because Eternity Cloud has actually joined the panel that they're here, and I'd like to pass the mic to them next. But I know you're finishing your thoughts here. I also just wanted to shout them out because it's been about 10 minutes. We haven't really introduced them yet. But yeah, go ahead, brother.
Okay, yeah, thanks. So
I like your explanations, man. You really did help me, with like explaining the difference between the IoT and DePin. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, just to add more context also to DePin, right? Decentralization means control for the entity that owns whatever gadget or device, right? So there's something that happened to us when we started Whitecrypt in 2018. We first launched it on the mobile phone as an app. But when we were connecting to the native features of Android and iOS, we got an email from Apple and they said, look, that what you guys are accessing isn't valid. That we're not supposed to access some of those kind of functionalities. And a couple of weeks later, they revoked our access. We couldn't communicate with some of those APIs that allow us to share Wi-Fi. Android they didn't even reach out. They just did like a complete upgrade of their OS. Like that was in 2019. And it rendered our system totally invalid. We couldn't basically do anything anymore. So that was what really pushed my team to build a totally new operating system, right? That now can work with existing routers. Why I'm mentioning this is that whenever we're talking about like decentralizing systems, I believe that the owner should have full control, right? So you don't have to depend on a third-party system to be able to perform your functions, because it happens a lot now with like a lot of maybe like projects or people coming up when maybe you have an app running on iOS and maybe they wake up just like they've had problems with so many big companies and then they just switch you off. The project, just like you can't really switch off the blockchain in its real sense, although now you have cloud services mining or performing jobs of nodes in terms of proof of work consensus mechanisms. But then it's very important for us to know that at the root of decentralization, the owner should have full control. I mean, this is just something extra I wanted to drop there. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, brother, for the knowledge and information. Yeah, let's. I know. So just so everyone knows, as you're coming up on stage, you don't have to raise your hand. Just jump in as you like. But we do appreciate everyone being polite here. But yeah, our third attorney, go ahead and take it away. Introduce yourself real quick, and then I don't know if you have something you want to add.
Hi guys. First, I want to really appreciate the opportunity that you guys brought everybody on the same page here. It looks like we're all deep into this. Just to mention a couple of things. I saw everybody is very interested and focused on their projects. I am as well. My name is Joseph Peter Fay. I'm the CEO of Eternity Cloud. Before I answer to the topic, because I have a couple of questions, I think it's important questions, parts on the subject. I can tell you a couple of things about Eternity Cloud real quick, so we don't waste too much time. We are in the DePin space since 2017 as a concept, and we went through 2021. We developed a mainnet and we launched it. Our focus is data privacy. So we took the role of securing private or data while it's traversing the DePin space. We see the DePin space as a space where data goes through different applications, different protocols. However, we also see the data as the most valuable element. We consider data and we treat it the same way as finances are treated. And we went beyond the limitations of the blockchain, which unfortunately it's limited in space, so you cannot upload too much information there. But we do use the blockchain for its integrity capacity. So this way, when data is processed and goes to various protocols, is using the blockchain to snapshot various let's say steps in the workflows. Now, this ecosystem, we build it in a couple of layers. One layer is the processing layer, which is secured by SGX-like technology, strategic execution environment. And on top, we also have a developer layer, which now we basically onboarded two ways of processing information. One is through code that is written in Python, and the other one is through code that is written in Node.js. Let's say to appeal to developers that are more focused on the Web2 space. But this is just, it's not, let's say just a couple of examples, as anyone can build all kind of binaries on top of it. But we wanted to reach out to, let's say, the Web2 scene because what we want to onboard in what our ecosystem is regular, let's say, Web2 technologies with a Web3 mindset in the back end, and the benefits of the Web3 as a whole, and bringing on the whole community of technicians and developers, not just the Web3 space. So this is one of our goals here. Good. Now, that was the introduction. Let me go over my thoughts on the topic at hand. Rock, you mentioned IOTA. I know IOTA for a while now. They do what's it called, the direct acrylic graph, the DAG. It's much faster than the blockchain. That's the promise of what they're doing, which is I actually supported a project similar to IOTA on my own and went through with a few things with them. I think what IoT didn't bring or was missing, it's a way of connecting all this data that's generated by the devices, because there are so many devices, and the premise is, okay, you're going to have a wallet address in each device, being it a coffee machine or anything, and then that writes to the blockchain and does the stuff. Now, for the blockchain things, I think it's not a big deal for them to do it, and I think IOTA did their job. But I think these devices need more than that, and this is where Web3 actually comes into play. Is where you have to store a bit of information, where you kind of need a backend that's also trustless, and you don't have it centralized with a service provider. So I think IoT needs, at least in Web3 space, needs DePin. So they can work together. They're supposed to be working together. So I'm expecting more of this kind of developments. Another thing I want to say about me, I'm very big on decentralization. As a philosophy, I think everybody here is. But I'm always thinking about ways of decentralizing everything as much as we can. And yeah, just that concludes my introduction and my thoughts. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you for that. And yeah, very interesting project as well. I like the way that you kind of described. Well, first of all, the DAG and how that works, and then the difference between the IoT and you know, how kind of, I guess, the marriage with DePin. So yeah, very interesting. I know we have some hands up here. Rock, should I go to a different question, or should we just continue with this?
Let's see what Euphorica has to say, and then yeah, sure, we could do another question. Whatever. Cool.
Thanks, guys. Look, I'm going to have to drop shortly, but I just wanted to make one last point, because I really enjoyed the debate a moment ago about the complexities of technical language for the average user. And I just want to make this point, which is ultimately my opinion really is that the average user in the end, that they don't care about what the back end technology is, just as long as it works and it's providing value to the user, right? So I think, whilst this is of course a very complex technical discussion that we're having, which is important from the end user's perspective, if they can access an environment and an ecosystem that's easy to use and they see value back in return, that's how we're going to get users in volume coming into this. And DePin has some significant value accrual that it can provide to users, but we've got to make it seamless and simple to access, and we're doing that. There's evidence that that's absolutely happening, and it's exciting where this is going to go. Thanks, guys.
I mean, I would actually add to that.
Thank you for being here, brother. Yeah, Alex. I see your hand up. Go ahead and introduce yourself as well, and just to shout out everyone. We also have Fleek and my phone's rugging. Harris.
Hey, I'm a securities lawyer. I used to work at the SEC in big firm. I founded and exited two companies, and I've been in blockchain since 2016. I have a book on DeFi published by O'Reilly coming out this quarter, apparently, and I advise a couple of funds and VCs and a couple of high net worth individuals and a bunch of projects. So that's what I do.
When you were on here last time and you said SEC lawyer, I think you were speaking. I didn't want to interrupt, but I thought I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But I thought you were like a lawyer involved in SEC type stuff, but you were actually at the SEC.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought you were going to say, like, I thought you were going to hate crypto. No, I'm actually very pro crypto. And yes, I was actually at the SEC. So
we might have to pick your brain a little bit later on that one.
Yeah, I do a lot of, the clients I have right now are, some of them are definitely like, how do I stay out of jail? Like, that's, I guess, a good goal. So yeah.
Well, isn't that sad when you're an entrepreneur, you're a business person, and that even ever has to cross your mind?
I mean, the thing I think that the problem that I've always seen in the crypto space is there was this underlying rationale that was false. That was, we are a group of people that don't have to comply. And every other industry has always come with the premise of, how do we comply and still do great business? But for whatever reason, this industry came in and was like, we want to do great business, but we don't want to comply with anything. And it's hurt us so much in several different areas. One of the areas was in compliance, but the other big area is that there are so many businesses here who don't actually understand basic business principles. Like, we're not building great businesses. And even the way that we do token offerings is draining hundreds of millions of dollars of value out. And I have like a whole rant on this because it's driving me absolutely crazy. We're basically leaking value out instead of being able to provide this like crucible, you know, of high risk, low cost value building period. Anyway, I'm not going to get
what do
into
you
that.
think? I mean, so is the answer there like you kind of sound like a regulator in that, like, you're saying, look, everybody who does business must comply. And
no, this is not
in my head,
who does business.
I kind of get into my like, whoa, don't come at me, bro. Like comply.
No.
Why do we all need to comply? Like, you know, for thousands of years, there was no complying. It was just, let's build some stuff. I make a hammer and you make shoes and we trade them. But now, yeah, you're right. Every single business in the world, even if you're making, you know, there's a good interview on what Bitcoin did with Caitlin Long and Tyler Lindholm. He's a congressperson in Wyoming. And he's talking about how it got to the point where they were regulating whether an old lady can sell a pie to her neighbor. And he said, what happened when it got to the point where an old lady can't sell a marmalade pie to her neighbor? And that's where we're at now. So it does kind of get my blood going when I'm like, you know, you must comply, like resistance is futile. Like, should the government, I don't want to get on a side note here, but on a rant, but should everything you do in life be complying with some authority? Like, as human beings, should there be, or we don't have kings anymore, right? That was the point of democracy, is there's no kings to lord over us, but it sure feels like it sometimes.
No,
especially with the SEC, right?
So my issue wasn't that. So what I was just upset about was basic business principles, that we're not making enough money. But the issue of regulation is not really about like, can someone sell a pie, right? It's really about, like, for my concern about regulation is that people who are making promises to other people, and the people who are receiving those promises don't really understand what those promises are. However, there's another corollary to this, and this is a whole separate discussion. Crypto has done a terrible job of picking the right argument for the SEC. We wasted a bunch of time in this, wasteland of, is it a security? Is it not a security? which is basically just the domain of the SEC, it's their playground. Why are we even in there? That's not a good argument for us. Where the better argument is really about the nature of the token. Primarily, this whole rule set has two big flaws. One is that the entire rule, the entire structure, doesn't work for a lot of industries, not just us, right? It's predicated on this idea that everybody is working through regulated players that are like broker dealers and regulated exchanges, et cetera. The broker dealer hub of our wheel, right, hasn't actually been working since 1998 when Glass-Steagall broke, right? So that whole premise that everybody is working through regulated parties and all of the rules that stem from that doesn't really work anymore. People have to insert individuals instead of algorithms, where individuals introduce fraud. Like the likelihood of fraud is much higher when you have to introduce a person into something, as opposed to just letting an algorithm play out or letting something be automated. But they're making you actually insert an individual in, and you'll see that in exchanges and stuff, that you have to actually, in order to comply, you have to insert a person in there in order to comply with these antiquated rules. And that's not just about Web3, that's everybody. It doesn't work for everybody. The problem that we have, the problem that we have with crypto is that what we have is a rule that's based entirely on a decision that is made at the time of purchase, right? All of the rules are based on what a buyer understands at the time of purchase. But that doesn't actually work with crypto. And it's because tokens can have many different functions simultaneously that don't reveal themselves until the time of the purchaser's sale. So for example, if I have like ETH or I have Matic or something like that, it could be that I buy that Matic and I could sell it at market price, right? So I could use it, I could sell it as a security, in which case that Matic becomes a security. I could buy another token with it. It could become basically a currency. I could use it to trade for another, like I could use it to purchase an NFT. I could use it to exchange it with another currency. I could use it, I could do anything with it, and I won't reveal.
You could use it as gas.
I could use it as a gas fee, right? Exactly. I could use it for all of these things, and I don't know, I as the purchaser don't know what I'm going to do with that until the moment of my sale, until I release it. So all of whatever is true at the time of purchase is irrelevant to the actual use of that thing. All the rules are basically structured around this concept that something remains one static thing throughout its lifetime. A stock is a stock is a stock is a stock. Debt is a debt is a debt is a debt. That is not true with tokens. We need a separate structure because of the nature of tokens. That is a much stronger argument that has yet to be raised, but that, in my opinion, right, is something that would lead us to a separate rule structure, because there isn't any reason why we should comply with a structure that is meant for static objects when we have fluctuating objects where our decisions are irrelevant as to what that object is going to be until a later date that even we can't predict. So anyway, that's my view on that. So it's more complicated than, well, you're a regulator. It's like, well, no, I think that we're approaching this in a, not the most useful fashion. I think that a lot of change needs to happen, but I don't know that we're necessarily approaching it in the, most productive way.
I'm going to ask you one more quick question, then we'll get back to DePin here. Well, I have your brain. I want to understand the brain of regulators.
I know it's like everybody leaves like, what the fuck was that? No, sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know if you can swear on here. I'm sorry.
You can. I think. I don't know. I'm a libertarian. I think generally, I believe government's important. I believe having a strong but small and effective government is important. I don't believe like we should have no government. I'm not an anarchist or anything like that. But I think generally most government regulations and rules and laws, I think they're net negative, actually. I think there are some good ones, but if you take the whole of them, it's actually net negative. And I think generally regulators are busybodies. They want to keep making regulations and passing laws because that's how they measure their worth. If a president gets in office and signs no executive orders or does nothing then people will tell him, hey, this guy didn't do shit in office. But in reality, actually, I think the best thing a government official can do is to just get out of the way and get rid of a lot of these old archaic regulations. If anything, that the only thing I would like to see them do is undo some of the things that previous ones had done. And so we might have totally different views here. I'm curious what you think about the libertarian kind of principles of just let people do what they want as long as they're not hurting someone else. And the government shouldn't be so involved in every single decision in our life, whether I can buy a pie from my old lady neighbor or like what flavor of cigarette you're allowed to smoke in California now. It's like just, and I don't even smoke cigarettes, but that still irks me. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that? And then we'll get back to DePin, guys.
So I don't tend to talk about my politics at all, just because it's not really relevant for anything that I do. I really base everything that I do on facts. I'm for whatever, like I'm very issue oriented, and it's whatever the facts, wherever facts lie, right? I'm not about sides per se. I'm really just about making sure everybody is making decisions that are fully informed. That's it. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to sway people. I'm not trying to tell people what to do
So
or
not
how to
even into
vote or what to
political
invest
parties,
in.
then a more simple question is, do you think our government size and their control over things and their regulation over things, do you think it is just the right size? Is it too large or is it too small?
But I don't really want to talk about my own personal politics is irrelevant. Like for who I am, like this is for something that I discuss like with like my closest friends or whatever. I will say for my party, I'm independent. I like no parties. I like none of them. So I am like very much, I'm very like, I publish a list of how I'm voting for people here where I live. There's a group of people who, for whatever reason, follow me and want to know how I'm voting on particular, bills and referenda and stuff like that. And it's because I research the hell out of everything, and I do not vote party lines at all. All I do is I research and I say, this is, these are the facts, and this is how, we're voting. Like both sides have a story. All I'm going to do is get to the bottom of like, oh, they're saying there's no money, and these people are saying there's a ton of money. Let me go figure out if there's money. And that kind of, that's all I do. And so people follow what I'm voting just because I do the research on it. So I'm not about like, is this right or is this wrong or whatever. Those are my personal opinions, and they don't really have any bearing on anything. I don't. What I want is an effective government, right? What I want is a government that cares about, how is everybody progressing, and does that progress, what does that actually mean? Because if we look at what progress has meant advancements, generally speaking, in health, finance, and technology, right? These are the three areas that we tend to mean about progress. However, what we've seen so far is that typically progress in technology has resulted in income inequality. Progress in health has resulted in some equality, but it depends on how it's applied. And then progress in finance has resulted in income inequality. So you have to ask, who is the government serving? So, I have my own personal views, but I want to make sure that the government is serving all of the people. I don't believe lobbyists should exist. I've mentioned this many times because I think that once you vote for somebody, the people that you vote for should say, this is exactly how I will vote. Elected officials are proxies. That's all they are. They don't have anything to bargain with. There is nothing that they can vote differently on because you elected them to vote as your proxy. The lobbyists, if they're going to do anything, they have to go to the constituency. They should not be able to manipulate any elected official because an elected official does not have a vote themselves. What they have is a constituents vote by proxy. And if they want to vote differently, they should have to go back to the constituency and explain why. If they want to not vote or abstain for some reason, they have to go back to the constituency and explain why. You are an agent. I don't understand why people are not applying agency law to elected officials. I think it's crazy to me that there are people who are saying, well, I want you to vote differently. You shouldn't be able to vote differently. You were elected to vote a specific way, not because of your personality or because I want to have a beer with you. Who the fuck am I having a beer with? So, I mean, I just think, the things that I care about are not things that people care about in particular parties. What I care about is essentially like, is this an effective government? Is this running effectively? Are people being represented appropriately? Is there recourse for actions? That's really what I care about. So
Fair enough, Alex. I think that's a strong answer, and I appreciate your thoughts. I think a lot of people are just interested to hear, what a former SEC lawyer, thinks about, probably a million different things. But I like your answers, and it's great to meet you. I wasn't on the last space. I'm usually co-host here as well with Rock. But yeah, great to talk with you and jump into DePin as well. I do want to say that we have Fleek and
Hello.
we also have XNet that have joined the panel. So just shouting you guys out. I know we have. I don't know if you want to finish your thought, Alex, but I just wanted.
Aztec is trying to keep me on a leash here because I'll keep asking you questions.
Good
I
times.
think
Good
people are
times.
here to. I think it's fair because people. I'm happy to talk, but I think that it's fair. People are here to talk about DePin and not me. So
No,
I'm happy to talk about DePin too. I think it's a
you're
fascinating topic.
I
you're
generally
obviously
agree
a
with
very
you
interesting
guys, by the
person.
way. We both use the same word, effective. I want an effective government. I don't want a massive juggernaut government that's involved in everything I do. But anyways, we'll continue this another time.
Yeah, let's introduce. Let's start with Fleek, and then go to XNet, and then I have another question. I'll kind of switch things up, and once we get everyone introduced here.
Sure. So happy to be here. First of all, my name is Chad Huggins behind the Fleek account here. I got to shout out the QuickSwap team and the Polygon team behind the scenes. I spent the last couple years at Polygon, and a lot of the team still running this spaces were my colleagues until recently. So it's fun to be here, and sort of feels weird to be behind a different brand's account, but it's always fun to be with a bunch of Polygon maxis. So let me give you the sort of 101 on Fleek, and then introduce Harrison. He's our founder and CEO. Maybe to dive a little deeper, I honestly think maybe there is a little bit of this regulatory uncertainty segue into a lot of what we're building at Fleek. But Fleek is for developers and has been known for a couple of years of really becoming ubiquitous with front-end hosting on IPFS, and sort of the easiest way to do that in the space. It's got a lot of users, some big name users like Vitalik, his own blog. He uses Fleek, and I think he just posted about that in his last
Just for the
blog.
audience, brother, can you explain what IPFS is? Just like very, very short, just for people that may not know.
Sure, yeah. So it's a different way of storing files, and itself is decentralized and is really popularized. A lot of people are familiar with maybe Filecoin, and so when you're talking about developing a site and the front end itself, and fetching all the files and whatnot that make up a website, instead of hosting those on a centralized solution, which are, it's sort of a monopolized market with big players like Amazon, AWS, Cloudflare, etc. IPFS is a decentralized way to literally have those pieces of content that makes up the front end decentralized and stored on chain. So it's really, it's been around for a while, and again, Fleek has a ton of users that use that every day to ship their front ends. And there's some sort of juicy stuff I may tee Harrison up to get into with DeFi as a space and like regulatory concerns and being able to decentralize your front end as sort of safeguarding against that. But I think the big sort of macro view of DePin as a category is, if you really want to dumb this down to visualize in our space, when you're talking about web services being decentralized, the entirety of the internet is built on these big players like Amazon, Microsoft, Cloudflare, et cetera. They have these massive physical infrastructure server farms, right? In the numbers of hundreds around the world. And when you put something in the cloud, it's literally going to one of these server farms that are incredibly expensive, and they are geographically distributed, but again, in the like hundreds, not in the thousands. So what we're doing at Fleek is really the pathway to, I have a lot of conviction to mainstream adoption. It's just that developers will use Fleek not because they believe in the ethos or they believe in crypto mooning or whatever. It's just because it's a more performant way to host things on the internet, and that individuals or node operators can run these nodes instead of, that is the decentralized version of the physical infrastructure networks. So instead of hundreds of server farms, you have thousands and thousands of node operators. And that's where the web services that we all use every day and developers ultimately are the ones leveraging. That's how the internet can find a way forward. So let me tee it up for Harrison to sort of go. Fleek.xyz, that's the platform, I mean, the account I'm running here, and that's the front-end platform. Like, anybody can sign up if you're a developer and use it right now. It's super easy to connect your GitHub, your ENS domain, or whatever. But what we're building at the network, which is a different account, just to be clear, Fleek_net. But Harrison, maybe over to you to expand on the vision of, that's quite an evolution of Fleek as a brand.
Yeah, sure. I could give the high level sort of elevator pitch, but yeah, Fleek's been around, always trying to work on the decentralizing the web side of things. IPFS was sort of the leading technology on the decentralized web side of the ecosystem for the last few years. NFTs love using it for the content addressability. But all you could do on IPFS is really static things like static hosting or file storage. And so really to move into more full stack application hosting in a decentralized way, you need a lot more capabilities than just IPFS offers. And so we had built on a lot of different protocols over the years. And what we noticed is that a lot of them were built on like 2016 blockchain scalability ideas, very monolithic, very bottlenecked by consensus. But now the more recent trend in the modularity and breaking things up and specializing, we just saw that there was an opportunity to create a decentralized web infrastructure protocol that really not only met the performance of Web 2, which we think is what is holding the adoption of decentralized web infrastructure back, is that it's just not as performant as Web 2. And so every protocol today is using Cloudflare for a CDN to accelerate their protocol data and responses and delivery of that data, or using AWS Lambda functions, because developers and end users really want fast performing apps and websites. Google has all the data. If your website loads in 3 seconds instead of 1, you lose a third of customers. If it loads in 5 seconds instead of 1, you lose 90% of customers. Amazon says for every 100 milliseconds of latency added, they lose 1% of total sales, which is billions of dollars. So everyone was moving to the cloud over the last 2 decades, but this decade is all about moving to the edge. And the reason they're moving to the edge is to chase these performance gains, because internet users do not like loading or waiting or anything. And so that's really what
do you mean by pushing to the edge?
So edge computing is like moving to the cloud. You could think of the cloud as one server. The edge is really geographically like kind of building off of CDNs. See, what CDNs did is basically say, okay, it doesn't make sense to serve all this content from one location, one AWS data center sitting in US East. So let's cache all this content in different geographic regions around the world and just serve it from the closest location from the end user requesting it. It's not too much different than like physical distribution, where like Amazon is not, you know, delivering packages to China from a distribution center in Seattle. You know, they're doing it from a distribution center closer to where the, you know, the deliveries need to happen. And so CDNs really proved out that use case. And since it works so well, now everyone's just trying to apply that to different areas of the web infrastructure stack. So compute, databases, almost every type of web infrastructure, people are now putting on the edge. So the edge you could just think of as, instead of one server, many servers. But the problem is with Web 2 edge networks today, so CDN and edge are the two fastest growing segments of web infrastructure. And what's driving it is all these applications and use cases chasing those.
Has the spaces dropped, or?
You're rugged. You may need to leave and come back.
Oh,
if you
okay.
get here,
Okay.
speaker.
Sorry. Yeah.
No worries. Go ahead, speaker. By the way, enjoying this explanation.
Yeah, no problem. So basically, if you look at Web 2 edge networks today, what they've really done is just go from one server to 30 servers, and they just sit on different AWS data center locations. The reason being, it is not economically feasible for them to set up true edge computing where they have locations all over the world. So really what Fleek Network is doing is kind of similar to what Uber did for just the car and like industry, and just why they're superior to a centralized taxi company is when you decentralize the supply side of a network like this, you're able to reach scale at speed and at a cost that just is not possible to do as a centralized company. Because if Uber had to go buy the cars, hire the drivers, hire people to manage those drivers, deal with all the regulatory and jurisdictional compliance in each different country, it would never work. And so when you decentralize that, you really are able to just do something that you just could not do in a centralized setting. So edge computing is actually one of the best use cases of DePin, because the work is very regional and local. Nodes are doing the work and serving compute or bandwidth or whatever the resource is very close to where they are located. And so when you can run a system like that algorithmically, if you look at IT costs, 75 to 80% of IT costs are attributed to human-related things. And so like Uber, if you could run a system like this algorithmically and just let the incentives of the system make it run the way you want it to, that's really where we've already proven in our last testnet, but we're going to prove again in the next testnet in a few weeks that we won't only be as performant as Web 2, we're actually going to be more performant than Web 2 because we have an order of magnitude or two greater edge coverage than the traditional Web 2 edge networks. And so that's really where, you know, decentralization has really been used as a security advantage up until now. What we're really trying to prove is that decentralization, similar to Uber, can be a performance advantage. And we think once we're able to prove that we're not just as performant as Web 2, we're more performant at a way better cost point than Web 2, that's really what we think is going to help accelerate the adoption of decentralized web infrastructure.
There's like no area of Web3 that I've seen or know of that seems like far-fetched to me that you could be more performant in a decentralized, be more performant. I guess you kind of explained some here, but how can you be more performant than something that doesn't require the massive extra bandwidth and computation and things of Web3?
So it comes down to two things. One is just coverage. So similar to Uber, the reason they're able to get you a car in all these different locations faster than a centralized cab company is just because they have a way greater supply of drivers. Number two is it comes down to just some of the breakthroughs on the just Web3 and scalability side. We use Narwhal and Bullshark consensus, which is a DAG-based consensus that came out of Mistin Labs and like the SWI protocol. But basically, you're not. It's
interesting. DAGs have now been brought up 3 times today.
Yeah. So if you want to reach Web 2 or exceed Web 2 performance, you can't be bottlenecked by consensus and needing every node to basically come to consensus. So with these DAG-based consensuses, you know, an easy kind of mental model to think about is like each node is kind of like its own optimistic rollup. It's like the drivers within an Uber network. They're all doing work locally, serving requests, serving websites, serving compute for applications and locally based on the requests. And then periodically, they're just rolling up proof of the work they did to the protocol, and they get paid based on the work that was performed. And so when you kind of separate out the work being performed from consensus, that's really where a lot of the just breakthroughs in Web3 scalability have come from on the smart contract side of things. We're just taking a lot of those breakthroughs and now applying it to the decentralized web infrastructure side of things, where a lot of protocols, the big incumbents of, are really kind of from the 2016 class of protocols that were building, big modular, do everything in one protocol type of way. So yeah, I'll pause there just to give other people the stage. But yeah.
So why did I haven't seen any DAGs be really successful, and I'm wondering why. Are there some cons? Were they not ready? It's kind of sounded like you said they were doing it in a monolithic way, but now maybe there's some modularity where you can separate the consensus or data availability or something. Or how am I thinking of that wrong?
Nah, I think, for smart contracts and financial use cases, maybe it's not as attractive because there's different security maybe assumptions, or you lose some of that global composability and just global state side of things. But I think the main reason it hasn't taken off is just because, a lot of these protocols, I don't think focus too much on the end customer or the end developer. And, a lot of the marketing or just like what they're selling is really just like something that it's hard for a developer to understand. You go to any Web3 protocol, try to find the performance data. How fast does it take to get a response? What's the time to first byte? What's the cost of this compute? It is impossible to find. Everyone's pricing things in tokens. You got to do all these crazy conversions, and nobody talks about performance because they hide it because their performance is not good. You go to any Web2 infrastructure or developer platform, the first things you will see, performance. We have this many locations. This is our average global time to first byte. This is how quickly we get you responses on a compute or a database or whatever. It hasn't been adopted because it's not in a state that, or just a consumable form in terms of productization of these underlying technologies for a developer to care, especially a Web2 developer. Like what we're building, we're not just trying to go after Web3 developers. We think we're going to have the best performing edge and cloud platform, period, Web2 or Web3. So the 25,000 developers in Web3 is nice, but we're going after the 25 million developers in Web2 who just want a better performing, lower cost, more trustless platform to build web infrastructure. And we think by the end of this decade, building any sort of meaningful web application or software on a corporate owned cloud platform is going to be ridiculous. And so that's really what we're going to try to help bring forward. The coolest part about Fleek Network that I'll end with is we don't really compete with any other protocol. If you look at the modern web, it's all microservices accessed via API, accelerated by a shared performance edge layer. And so that's really the gap we're filling in Web3. So every other protocol can benefit from Fleek Network because their protocols are not fast enough by themselves. And so they all stick Cloudflare in front of their gateway, or they use some sort of Web2 augmentation to reach that performance level. And now for the first time, Fleek Network will provide that in a decentralized Web3 native way. So yeah, we're super excited.
And you're building on Polygon. So essentially you have
yeah, exactly.
DePin projects building on Polygon, like let's say Polygon ZK VM in the future, be able to also just use Fleek.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah.
There's actually layers to it because Fleek itself is chain agnostic. You can use any chain can use Fleek in the Fleek network, but Polygon developers could, instead of AWS or instead of Cloudflare or whatever, put their entire application on Fleek. The other layer, though, and this is one of the really aha moments for me, I wouldn't call it a dirty secret, but it's something that nobody really talks about. Like even performant Web3 protocols take Polygon's ZK Prover, which is best in class. The ZK Prover itself runs on Google Cloud. And that's not something that Polygon's not like a Google Maxi. That's just there aren't options that are actually aligned and decentralized. And so and you could take that across every single protocol. All the different Web3 protocols and tools and whatnot they're building are all leveraging what Harrison is saying here, the sort of status quo. And so what we're excited about is not to convince Polygon in their ecosystem of apps and whatnot to use Fleek because they buy into the ethos. It's entirely merit based. It's the fact that Fleek can and will be faster and better and cheaper. And that's the other thing. There's not a lot of options in the edge Web2 edge market, and so the prices are not great. And they can really hose people because there's not a lot of optionality there. So
so what's the concept
that,
there though behind that? You said Polygon, like the provers can be run on or in some cases run on like Amazon Web Services. So is that just because it's just mathematical proofs? It doesn't matter who runs it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's a mathematical proof. There's no like AWS could fudge the data or the government could do something. It's a mathematical proof. You just need computation power to solve it.
The problem there really becomes a regulatory one because hosting DeFi front ends is already becoming a regulatory kind of risk. Think about rollups. Every single rollup runs in a single AWS account. So when like DYDX, for example, they switched from Starknet to their own Cosmos chain. That was not a technological driven decision. That was a regulatory driven decision because if you're running a rollup and for a use case like DYDX, you are single-handedly operating an unlicensed derivatives exchange because that whole entire infrastructure is running in a single AWS account. And so when you think about how do you scale Web3, Ethereum has said you got to push a lot of it off chain. So when you push it off chain, you're pushing it back off onto the Web2 cloud platforms. And that's a ticking time bomb because if AWS or the US government decided they don't like rollups, it's very easy for them to shut off that infrastructure, make it illegal for, running those without being, KYC'd or whatever it is. So you really
same thing with Infura with Ethereum, right?
Yeah, all those supporting infrastructures run on AWS. So that's kind of the dirty secret of Web3 is you do have, especially with this off-chain movement as the scalability approach with rollups and L2s.
Not Bitcoin.
That is correct. But you see the trend, and I do think that, the reason a lot of it runs on AWS is because you don't have performant options or alternatives that are decentralized. And so that's really where we want to not really go every protocol, every middleware, every app, everyone needs application hosting, everyone needs content delivery, everyone needs these edge services. So we do think that we're in a unique position where we should be able to add value to almost every project in the ecosystem to just help decentralize more of their stack, whether it's QuickSwap and being able to decentralize the front end and a lot of the application infrastructure that you use, probably Lambda functions, serverless functions, a CDN, hosting, all these different things. But for the protocols and L2s and rollups, there's a lot of infrastructure that is sitting on these cloud platforms that we think will be able to prove you could run it more performantly at a lower cost with better Web3 alignment on Fleek Network.
Yeah, Harris, let's get QuickSwap and you guys talking at some point.
Yeah, we do.
I love the concept. I don't know enough about you guys to judge, the merit, but I love the concept. Yeah, the more we can get away from any centralized points of failure, that's beautiful.
Well,
we got to have the conversation at some point. I just want to say we don't usually have someone talk about their project for this long, but you guys really at the same time talking about a project gave a lot of education there. So and I'm saying this just because I know there's some people waiting to be introduced as well.
No problem. Thanks for the opportunity.
But no, for sure. Alex, you were going to jump in though real quick, I think.
Can I just so a couple of things here that it's absolutely true that the weakness that we have in everything being in a basically run by centralized servers is actually a huge one. There's two big problems. One is that for a lot of the IPFS systems, actually, they're extremely easy to hack, and they're with the way that they're set up. And the second one is that if AWS or Microsoft decides suddenly that they don't want to take on the risk, then they can shut us down and there's nothing we can do about it. So it's actually a pretty huge risk. The reason that a lot of the DAGs, the early DAGs, of which Sui, Aptos, and You could consider Hedera part of it. The reason that the early DAGs were not successful is actually because they introduced a huge security risk with the way that they sharded. The new DAGs that were introduced, so this is not necessarily what Hedera is, but Sui and Aptos use this object-oriented, a new language. But the other thing is that they're based on Sui is amazing because it's based on Starks, which I love because there's actually it's a zero trust system, and Misted Labs is pretty amazing. But they're completely different. They actually operate in a different fashion, and they don't introduce that risk that the early DAGs had, which means that they're actually much easier and safer to build on, including the fact that they now use a different language that is actually much more adaptable for a lot of developers. The early DAGs just had huge risk and they didn't have a real big benefit to them. This one is actually like, I mean, it's like basically they've introduced this language that makes it like working with Apple versus, Microsoft, like versus DOS. You know what I mean? Like it's much easier and it's much more more scalable and malleable. It's amazing. So and then the big risk that I wanted to mention, though, is that what you guys are going to have to deal with as you scale is as you're assuming you're dealing with nodes. I don't know if you're the ones who are, I'm assuming you're doing some SDK that you deploy onto these nodes, but you're going to have to make sure that you comply with privacy laws. That's been actually causing a lot of problems for people, especially in different countries. There are a variety of different laws. You should just comply with the strictest of them. And you have to make sure that the information is stored correctly because that's been a big issue. So that's all I wanted to add.
I want to add a couple of things, if you guys permit. I just realized that what Flick is doing, we've been through that, so we're a bit ahead because we already ran some testing, and there are situations where it's true that performance is higher than the centralized options, and I can give you the reasons behind that because we're like, when we ran the testing, like how we can better than Amazon or Google. What happens with Amazon and Google, it's usually their resources are overshared or overbooked because of virtualization technology. So nobody sees that. But protocols based on blockchain and if it's a utility token like we have, it's easy to quantify the amount of power that has been used. So you can build that into your apps and know a task is going to run for about a certain amount of time and how much computing power it uses. And then everybody else knows, like you can establish feedback measures to determine how an actor on the network was played, how he played and processed some task, and how somebody else processed the same task, for instance. And a feedback-based system and things like that introduces, exactly like Uber, a way of getting some scores, and the ones of the users that have higher scores, they are requested more often. So automatically to policy making that is converted in algorithms and technology, it builds up a way of processing data faster and more secure and more decentralized. So I think, of course, it's not easy. There is a lot of, let's say, things that we as a society need to think about when doing this, to balance over what is acceptable and what not. But overall, it's performance most cases was higher than Amazon AWS and Google Cloud. That's what we had experiences in our mainnet after the launch. We did some tests with a couple of customers, and they're like, "Wow, this is amazing!" So this is coming. So from this perspective, it's something that we're looking forward so strong as well.
So it's interesting to see that these things are actually maybe, and I don't know your projects well, so I'm not endorsing here. I don't know if they actually work like you say, but it's interesting if you really are, accurate here, telling the truth, that because, in 2017 and I think maybe 16, we tried a lot of these and none of them took off, right? Or maybe they have, and I just don't know. But like there was Golem for decentralized storage, storage, I guess, I think, right? And then
Golem, it was
what was the
processing. They were doing processing for video stuff. Yeah.
what was the other big one in 2017? I thought Golem was storage, and the other one was
IXEC. I think IXEC was the other one.
Yeah, SonM. So I interviewed all of these the early DePin projects before we started calling them DePin. But SonM was another big one. Golem was not strictly storage; it actually was general purpose compute plus storage, everything that the nodes could offer, or anything that the community could offer with their hardware. But as you pointed out before, I mean, there are different levels of trim when it comes to some of these projects, and you do have issues depending on what you're trying to get them to do, right? So the network itself needs to be fit for purpose. As was mentioned earlier, absolutely, you can get faster than traditional infrastructure speeds depending on the application. Case in point, right. I mean, if you want to go back far enough, even with dial-up and with DSL back in the 90s, you could do a null connection from point to point and create a tunnel. And yeah, you'd have flawless speeds because you were technically running your own network, as opposed to any shared infrastructure, or decreasing the amount of shared infrastructure on some of these other services. I mean, and the ones we're talking about now, AWS and Google Cloud, obviously not existing at that time, but the internet and the backbones, the World Wide Web, the backbone of it running the way that it did, you could still get faster than internet speeds by connecting in that way because you had the full data pipe. Even with 56K of connectivity, if you got if 20K of connectivity is all cruft, is all waste because it's being shared as bandwidth with other traffic on that network. Yeah, exactly. Of course, point to point is faster. And with blockchain networks, when you have very limited applications, yes, you get to fill the pipeline, the bandwidth with only your chosen activity for that application. So general purpose compute, I've yet to see a network fabric where we're talking about high speed rendering, video, computation, AI, that those use cases, those applications, that retail actually wants to use are not faster with DePin yet. But anyway, just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, it's I just want to mention the applications we tried were not in the direction of AI, but we're pushing towards that direction. That's because we tested things that were more in the direction of let's say computation, trying to determine like performance and benchmarks, and this is where it behaves better on benchmarks. Now everybody knows that the benchmarks are not the true aspect of actually running an application, but the benchmarks are different for different purposes. And for us, it was a big milestone, and it still is, because it shows the actual computing power can be, let's say, allocated, and it's running consistently. And the way we look at a feedback system is to make it where what you pay is what you get. Because I think this is very important from a financial model to have that through the economics if we want to compete with the big players. Because we know that behind let's say the big companies, there's a lot of very high operational costs. And this is what we can leverage as a community by sharing a bit of hardware, putting a bit of wireless router, whatever different project has. It's good to actually share it and connect it together with through protocols with other projects and establish infrastructure or stacks. I'm thinking about Web3 stacks. Should be our next goal as a group here. This is something I'm really interested in doing together. Like stack of technologies where you can go bam, bam, bam. These three technologies, they can do DeFi kind of swaps toward reaching the same goals. And yeah, this I think it's the way forward. So yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, I love that you brought that up.
just
So,
want to
and I
give
apologize earlier. Rocky said shots fired. Getting those milestones, hitting with those benchmarks, that is a significant milestone. What I'm going to go back and just, hi, my name is Seth. I go by the handle Mind Your Biz. I jumped in a little bit last minute here because of some other work calls, but my background is in evaluating some of these types of projects, but with the special emphasis on say media storage, video platforms, because these are things that retail uses. So I've had an interest for many years on how do we disintermediate and disrupt those industries for those applications. Been less interested in the infrastructure. Just I don't want to know how the Swish watch works. Don't take it apart and show me. I'm just trying to tell the time, so to speak, with decentralized applications like video hosting. And I've been trying to scratch that itch for 5-6 years now. But I didn't mean to belittle at all those benchmarks, because they do show technical competence.
Yeah, the benchmark are not for storage; it's for computation. So storage is a different thing. So when you have to stream data and do things like that, there's other aspects that's why I'm saying we as a community and as a space, we need to better work together. Like, okay, integrate different storage. There's various storage projects like Filecoin, or like, I don't know, EVM like storage, or SIA. There was another. There's a few that do storage.
SIA, that's the one I was thinking of from 2017.
Yeah.
SIA Coin.
Yeah, so they do storage, but again, we don't know yet how good they do things. I hope they advance pretty quickly, or they reach to a way where they're actually usable.
Are they still around? Are these projects still building? SIA, Golem.
Some of them are.
Is MadeSafe around? Like, there was a bunch.
I don't know if Golem is still around, but I haven't heard much from them though. So I do follow them on Twitter, and some of them are still active. But yeah, again, I'm not sure how really active they are. But part of the DePin group, and having a group here, is to reach out, to each other in the first place, and then see where the technology is and how we can make it work to reach that performance goals through integrating. So, because blockchains are getting faster and faster with second layer, now we're looking at third layers as well. So it's not, the speed of interaction is not so much of an issue now, where it's going to be fixed. But then, to have real-time true computational power, you cannot use blockchain for that. So we do have to use an off-chain component that's secure, that is protecting user privacy, and that's what we look. And for some of the items, or some of the business-related things, for public things and like public websites and so on, maybe hopefully it's not needed unless there's some database involved or something. But in general, it's just a static page on IPFS or so. So then you don't need any kind of complications. But everything else, that if we want to make the Web3 work like Web2, we do have to start little. We do the benchmarks. We see where it's a good player, see how that works, if it's performant, if it's cost effective, and we try to build from there. And I think this is actually what we have to, kind of ping each other and, kind of find out where the best options are.
I'm sorry, I think I'm going to jump in here because I can't stay on this call too long. Hi, I'm Rich, and I'm with XNet, and we've been talking about computation, and Fleek is doing really amazing things with decentralizing that. And of course, there's many decentralized approaches now to storage, which is great. But I think at the end of the day, there's another really important building block here, which is the actual connection between your device, the device that you're all holding right now, and that computation and that storage. And at XNet, we're actually solving for that in a way that unifies Web3 decentralization and also backwards compatibility, kind of compatibility with this legacy mobile communications infrastructure. And the reason mobile is so important is that right now, more than half of all of the web content of everything on the internet is about 55%, as the last check, is actually accessed through mobile devices. And 93% of the users in the world access content through mobile. So XNet is solving this problem. We are building the decentralized physical infrastructure to connect all of your devices seamlessly without you having to sign up for another phone plan. Nope, you'll be on AT&T or T-Mobile or whatever, but actually you'll be using XNet infrastructure. And then we are doing the hard work of all of this back-end integration with the actual mobile networks of the world, and making those deals. And you can think of it in a way. It's a little bit like, and I apologize for the analogy, but it's a little bit like a Bitcoin ETF, right? Because there's this whole world of finance, this kind of centralized, legacy, old school world of finance, where most of the world's money moves, and regulated entities like pension funds and so forth that couldn't possibly dabble in crypto. So they could never engage with crypto, right? Until there was this kind of connector, the sort of interface, which was the ETF. And what we're trying to do at XNet is we're trying to be this kind of decentralized, centralized communications world interface that actually lets the money flow in from the big carriers, because those are our customers, right? And we let all of you become micro, or possibly not micro, maybe mesoscale mobile entrepreneurs, and funnel some of that $300 billion that go into the US mobile industry and put it into your hands through revenue share. And I think it's really exciting. And we're on Polygon, because we think that Polygon is great infrastructure that supports these more performant L2s and all that. And we're really excited to be here. So anyway, I just wanted to jump in and call out that this is another critical piece, and that we are building on Polygon, and that we're really excited to be part of the DePin community.
Yeah, thank you for jumping in, Rich. That's how we run the show. We just have everyone kind of jump in as they see fit. You don't have to raise your hand. But Ben Zhu, I noticed that you haven't introduced yourself yet. If we could have you introduce yourself, and then I have a question for everyone on the panel.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my name is Binju. I'm the founder of the Stratos. I'm very happy to heard a lot of talk about the storage, the performance, the CD, and the videos. We just talked about that. Actually, that's what Strato already accomplished. Yeah,
Hey, Ben, can you speak up just a little bit? Your volume's a little low. And Ben is the one that, guys, I mentioned. I was asking a question on a random thread about DePin, and he was actually the one who answered it. So good to have you.
Yeah, thank you. Now the voice is better.
A little bit quiet still. Yeah, if you could just talk a little louder.
Okay. Sorry, because I'm sick. Maybe my voice is low. I try my best.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, the Strato was started at 2021. Actually, when we already heard this space about 2 years, about 2 hours. Actually, before I working for the Web2, almost 20 years, I fully understand how Web2 works. And before, when I start the Stratos, I realized, Web2 is so powerful because Web2 have very strong backbone. It's the cloud. But Web3 doesn't have that. They only have blockchain. Blockchain is decentralized ledger. They is powerful, but they cannot do everything. That's why we decided to do the Stratos. For the Stratos, we start to deliver the storage. Then we will work on the computation this year, and then we will work on the database. The same thing like the centralized cloud. People always need to find a way to store something like video, like image, like NFT, or your document. When you save your data, then you will realize, I have my video, I need to play with that. Or maybe I need to encode my video, maybe I need to process my picture. Then people will have the second requirement is I want to process. Okay, then the computation is doing that work. After the computation, they will get some clean data, structured data. Where they save? They will save to the database. That's why Stratos milestone is storage, computation, and the database. we will solve the problem step by step. Okay, that's what we do. That's Strato do. Then the people, we talk about the performance. People always talk, yeah, decentralized storage probably never can compete with centralized storage. But fortunately, we did some benchmark on Strato. Strato network was main network just launched in September 2023, actually 3-4 months before. But right now, we already have more than 500 nodes across 20 countries. And right now, the total storage capacity is more than 4 terabytes. 4 petabytes. And we did some benchmark. We compare with the Google Drive. Everyone uses Google Drive. So we compare with Google Drive. Our performance, it doesn't matter downloading or or uploading. Our performance always compatible with them, sometimes even faster than them. Also, recently, we cooperate with several AI projects. The reason they want to working with us because Strato really provides the decent, efficient storage solution for them. The main reason is the Fleek. It's called Fleek, the project they mentioned. The edge. I really like the edge because when we talk about the decentralized, we don't talk the edge, but edge is very important. Edge computing, edge storage. The AI project, they provide the GPUs. They want the GPU to feed the data and train the AI model. But the GPU could be located everywhere because it's a decentralized network. They could be in US, Europe, or maybe Asia. But where does the data come from? They're not sure. That's why most of the time, the GPU is waiting for the data to train. So most time, GPU is have nothing to do. But with Stratos, it's purely decentralized. It's all in the edge with the GPUs. So the GPU will be much efficient to get the data from Stratos. So that's why they like to cooperate with us. Okay, that's one use case actually we're working now, and we already have several partners with us. The other use case we're doing right now with third party is called decentralized Dropbox. The people, they don't trust the Google Drive or Apple Cloud because the censorship. Some people, they really want to use some, secure platform, but all the public cloud, they always have, censorship or the other regulations. So we are working on the decentralized Dropbox. So when you have your own decentralized Dropbox, you don't worry about your content anymore. You don't worry about, okay, they will scan your data, they will scan your image. No, you don't worry about they will delete or block your account. No, because you have your own key. As long as you have your own key, you always be the owner of your content. So not your key, not your coin. From our side, we say not your key, it's not your content. That's the second use case. The third one is CDN. We just mentioned the CDN, decentralized CDN. Actually, Strato is working on that. We will deliver the decentralized CDN very soon. How we do it? Actually, people, they can just upload video or audio on the Strato network. Because the performance of the network is good, so people, they don't need to download the video audio before they play. They can directly play on it, like the TikTok, YouTube. So yeah, that's Strato already accomplished, and we will start looking for more partners and work together. We want to show the world how decentralized storage, how decentralized computation powers to change the way how people works. And we also want people, not only crypto community, also the traditional world, traditional industry to think, oh, traditional industry, they're not, some people said, okay, they're very hard to have the adoption for the crypto world. I think I talked to some business, I talked to some friends. They said they are not like the cryptos. They like it, but they really don't have some very useful infrastructure they can use. They lack no censorship. They can control all the content by themselves. They just didn't find the good one to use with. In this case, actually, we had a conversation a long time ago with a big company in UK. They always save their data in the AWS, but they're all personal, very personal data. They don't want to take that responsibilities because the public cloud, sometimes they have issues. They will leak some data. So they talk with us. They really want to us could work with them and to store their personal, very personal information on Stratos as well. And right now, we still have conversation with them. One day, when Strato network getting bigger, now we have 500 nodes. Maybe when we have 1,000 nodes, 2,000 nodes, we probably could talk with them again to say, okay, now we're ready to take your data. So yeah,
Sounds like you guys are doing a lot there. And I appreciate the explanation of what Stratos is doing, where you guys have come, everything you've built. I do want to kind of ask a question for the panel and bring us back to the questions. I also want to point out that Maya has joined the panel and also Crypto 101 podcast. So welcome, guys. Just so everyone knew, we were kind of introducing everyone's projects, and usually we try to take about like 30 seconds to introduce the projects, but because you guys are so interesting, I'll let it go a little bit longer. But I think here would be a good time to just ask another question and get everyone kind of involved again in this conversation. So my question to whoever wants to answer, and Mayo and Crypto 101 podcast, you guys don't have to raise your hand, but everyone can just jump in. Obviously, Maya, you've been here before, so but just for everyone here, if you are new, you don't have to raise your hand, you can just jump in. So here's a question. How do DePins leverage cryptocurrencies to incentivize service providers and or increase utility?
Hello everyone. Another day on Polygon space, and you guys are amazing. I miss you all. And I see Alex. Oh my God, Alex. I miss you so much. It's great to see you here.
I love seeing you.
Oh my God, sorry. The little I have not talked to her for a while, and she's my very close friend in Web3 space. We hosted a lot of spaces together. She's amazing. If you guys are not following her, you are missing out. Make sure you go and follow Alex. She's amazing. And about
you missed our discussion earlier. I'm gonna keep prying her for information, and I'm gonna get it out of her at some point.
Yeah, oh my God, she's an actual former SEC lawyer. A lot of people think that she's just like a lawyer that does regulations, but no, that she's an actual.
Were you listening earlier? That's what I said. I said I didn't know she was actually at the SEC.
Yeah, we get that a lot. It's she's a gem, and it's a blessing that we have her. So and about DePin, so it's interesting that it got kind of popular. The concept got popular at the end of 2023, but it has been there for a very, very, very long time. So not that long, but I did mine Helium back in 2021. So Helium is one of the things that is actually DePin. So I don't know if you guys have that much information about Helium, but it was a very lucrative token to mine, and now there is a lot of competition now. So it depends where you are and like on the map. So if there are a lot of Helium miners around you, you can't really mine that much. But the concept has been there for a while, and definitely you can make a lot of money if you're.
So what's the point of Helium for those who don't know? I know it was super hyped. Everyone was talking about it for a while.
If I could jump in, because XNet isn't sort of in the same space as Helium in certain ways. Helium is building a decentralized wireless network. Initially, it focused on LoRaWAN, not sort of IoT stuff, and now it's been moving in the
It
direction
sounds
of,
like Lord of the Rings.
yeah, I know. It was basically this kind of geeky IoT thing, which is great, by the way. Helium are the OGs in DY. We love them. They actually prove that you could use a token to incentivize the construction of physical infrastructure. They were really the first ones to do this, and that was
DY?
amazing. Decentralized wireless.
Okay.
So XNet and Helium both operate in the decentralized wireless space. And the reason wireless is so important is because mobile is actually one of the biggest industries globally there is. It is a multi-trillion-dollar industry globally. It's also how most of the people in the world connect to the internet. So it is super important. Basically, your wireless service provider is your gateway and gatekeeper. If they don't want traffic on their network, they can shut it down. And so we think of the internet as being, oh, it's decentralized, anybody can connect. Nope. Most people in the world go through their phones, and guess who is making sure you don't do certain things with your phones? Well, that's folks like AT&T, Mobile, and others. And Helium had this brilliant idea that, hey, we'll give people a token to incentivize them to deploy radios in advance of actually being able to give them money, right? And guess what? People did. Now, I think Helium was a little bit exuberant in how they give away their rewards, and it kind of has created some mooning and crashing in their token. But we still think it's an amazing pioneering project. And what we're trying to do at XNet is do something that is similar. And by the way, we've deployed millions of dollars worth of radios on our network in advance of revenue coming into our network. And that's the power of having a token. There's no way we could have financed that if we'd had to pay people in cash to deploy our radios.
They're
and now,
huge bootstrapping mechanisms. That's actually how I look at
it's
it.
an incredible bootstrapping mechanism, but also it does much more than that. Because as Alex was saying earlier, and by the way, Alex, I absolutely love you. I've just followed you. You're incredible. Yes, tokens can do more than one thing. Tokens can actually be, of course, they can be in a medium of value exchange, right? And XNet has a utility token. And that's how we reward our operators. We give them XNet, which they can, of course, convert into something else. And so they can use to cover their costs and so forth. But it's also a unit of account in terms of, think of it as being burned into data, right? It can perform many other functions. And so that's the great power of tokens. And so if you have a well thought through utility token, which many DePin projects have, it does multiple things for you, and things that go way beyond a trivial notion of a security, or even a trivial notion of some kind of rewards points or currency can do. And every project that has a token hopefully is doing it because they've got a very thoughtful and focused strategy for how they're using it to bootstrap their project, how they're using it to create long-term incentives especially for the people who get in early, to make sure they can be, they're being rewarded as pioneers, and such that you can actually manage the overall growth, because you really do have to think through, how is your token going to be operating in 5 years or 10 years? And that means you have to have a long-term plan. And I think, one of the things we haven't seen a whole lot is kind of long-term thinking in terms of the tokenomics. And sort of more thoughtful stuff, but that's where we're trying to go with XNet, and we're trying to be the folks that can prove that you can actually do sustainable token rewards, not massive rewards, but sustainable token rewards that can actually let you grow a network. And we now have over 150, of our, kind of cell site type radios on our network, and we're continuing to grow. So anyway, tokens can be a fantastic tool for bootstrapping a project that would otherwise require, millions of dollars of conventional investment or financing. And honestly, if you're doing something in DePin, the whole point is to try to get away from all that kind of conventional, kind of centralized, traditional financing, because at that point, some bank owns your network, not you owning the network. So we want to actually create a network that's owned by everybody, and we want to share the amazing, revenue opportunities of providing actual wireless connectivity. And that's what we're doing.
So these are like mesh networks, essentially?
So you can build mesh networks, but what we're trying to do is, so there was a point that a previous speaker made that you just, I think Fleek made this and others have made it. You can't just say, oh, I have this kind of crappy network, but hey, use it because it's decentralized. Use it because it's privacy preserving, right? That's just not going to fly. We want to build a superior product, and everybody in DePin should be about building something that's actually better than the existing competition. right? So mesh networks, it's a cool technology, but performance isn't great. And what we're doing is we're building a network that's going to give you incredibly high performance mobile wireless connectivity, because our customers are folks like AT&T, T-Mobile, et cetera, right? They will buy from us our network footprint because it is so freaking fast. And so that means that every one of our radios has to have high quality backhaul. But every single radio has independent backhaul. So that means if, one of the, internet service providers or whatever that's providing that backhaul goes down, the other radios are still up, right?
So wait, can you zoom out? I'm a little lost.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between, maybe explain to people what a mesh network is and why you're not a mesh network? It sounds like a mesh network, but I don't know.
So
the radio part as well.
Yeah. So the idea behind a mesh network is, imagine that I'm in imagine you're in a schoolroom, right? Remember when you were in school class and you wanted to pass a message across the room, right? You would hand the message to somebody next to you and they would hand it on, and eventually it would work its way across the room to the desk of that person in the corner who you were trying to give the message to. That's kind of a mesh network, where basically messages are passed from node to node, hop to hop, over let's say the wireless layer. And mesh networks are very robust, or they can be. Back in the day at MIT, I used to develop new kinds of mesh network technologies, but they have a lot of overhead. In other words, a big chunk of the traffic on your network ends up just kind of maintaining that network and shifting other messages around. The actual amount of that channel you have for your communications or for anyone communications is small, and so you tend to not have great performance. What we're doing is we're building a network which is, locally, you have a bunch of, say, mobile phones connecting to one of these, 4G or 5G radios. At that point, that radio needs, multi-gigabit backhaul because it's going to have so much data going through it. It hits fiber, and then that gets routed through the internet backbone to basically wherever it's going to go. And if it's going to go back to AT&T, we send it back to AT&T. But if you're just doing a data connection and you're just pulling information from the web, it breaks out right there and goes out and uses local connectivity. So it's a kind of it's a way to sort of decentralize, if you will, the network access, and that's another way to improve performance. So mesh networks are great. They're yeah, please.
Yeah, so I have been a part of DePin for a while, and I find it actually very quite interesting. And one thing, since you want to be ahead of the game of your competitors, maybe look into this. If you look at the chart of Helium, like a month ago, there was a big jump, and that I don't know if you've been following it or not, but what they're doing, because of how much having having a Helium miner near you is going to lower your how much you can mine. They made your phone a node, like a moving node that you can actually pick up the network and be a part of that ecosystem. Maybe you can implement something like that on your project.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of ways to get people excited about participating in a DePin project, and having a kind of a low commitment sort of app install that gives you some rewards is great. And I think Helium has did a fantastic job in their marketing. Because we're trying to build a really high performance network, pretty much everything has to be sort of telco grade and so forth. And at some point, we may very well have a network validation app. But right now we don't need that, and we've been focusing on trying to kind of build out the kind of the robustness and scaling of our network. Because here's the thing. Let's say I say, hey folks, go to xnetmobile.com and download our app, and we're going to reward you with tokens. That's cool. That'll get people excited, but that becomes dilution, right? Unless I'm rewarding you for doing something that really adds value to the network, then I've just thrown tokens out there, and I'm sort of stealing a little bit of value from everybody who's, let's say, operating one of our actual, mobile network class cell towers, basically, for us, right? So we want to make sure that when we reward people with tokens, we're doing it in a way that actually builds value for XNet's customers. And our customers, again, are big MNOs, mobile network operators, MVNOs, mobile network virtual operators. So think folks like Mint Mobile and so forth. And we have money flowing into our network right now. So on our Wi-Fi offload, we have AT&T customers. You go near one of our radios, and your phone says, "Oh, you've got 5 bars on AT&T," and they pay us, and then we do a revenue split with the operator of that node. So it's a really cool model. It's working right now. And don't get me wrong, I love that Helium is mooning. That's awesome. But our token is up about 15,000% from its lows as well. So, we're doing okay too. But
whoa, we never hear people talk about their token price. Ooh, risque.
Well, I in fact, I don't focus on that, right?
Don't forget, there is an SEC lawyer here.
That's true. I was merely making an observation on that.
Ex-SEC lawyer. No, I feel you. I think it's a stupid rule. I follow it, but I think it's a stupid rule.
Well, so here's the thing. I'm making an observation on that because if there isn't a value associated with our token, then there's no incentive for anybody to operate our radio. So our token is not 100%. A security. I will absolutely go to the mat. We've designed it not to be a security. In fact, I made a whole bunch of design choices. I'm our chief crypto architect, and I made a bunch of design choices, like not making our radios NFTs, because doing so would absolutely, which the payments follow the NFT, that would absolutely be a security, right? So we have worked really, really hard to do that. But what I will say is it is a very plausible thing that you can profitably operate an XNet node right now. And that's super important. If that weren't the case, there would be no incentives, right? So I think we all have to be real about the importance of incentives. We're in crypto because we believe in incentives, and we have to carefully design our incentive systems to work. So yeah,
nobody's going to earn points if they don't have value, right?
Correct.
It's kind of, and I don't even know if it's a rule, by the way, that you can't talk about your own token's price. I think everyone just kind of went with that. It's like saying, "Oh, this is not financial advice." I don't even know if that's an actual rule to say that. People are just all like so scared that we follow all these things. But yeah, I like
just really quickly.
You're confident in your token and that it's not a security. So say what you got to say. I like it.
Yeah. So I'm not going to ask any questions about the token at all now. With that preamble, I want to know about the nodes, because that's the so jumping back a halving cycle. The master nodes were a big flash in the pan, right? And they've since moved on to something where there's enhanced service, some kind of enhanced service quality that's being run on top of those nodes.
Wait, was that Dash, or was Dash one of those? What
Dash was just one of those. They kicked off the biggest trades at the point where one of their nodes cost more than $1 million USD. So, but they were also selling them. There were plenty of crypto projects that were selling these nodes or selling the collateral in a bundle to spin up a master node at that time, or they were selling it as some kind of value-added reseller, Raspberry Pi deal. What I'm curious about with XNet is if the reference design for your miners is open source.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And by the way, I'm a huge fan of open source hardware. In fact, I think I can confidently say that like 20 years ago at MIT, one of the projects I led there was one of the very first open source hardware projects. But we can't rely on basically hobbyist hardware to support our network. We actually have to deploy telco quality equipment. So these are 4G, 5G radios of exactly the same kind that you would deploy if you were building, for example, a private LTE network for, self-driving cars or something like that, right? So the actual radio hardware has.
So you have standards. Yeah, I hear that the fit and finish of the standard of the reference design is upscale. I'm still curious as to whether or not it is open source.
So I'm actually saying something different. I'm saying, you don't say is the flash in your computer, is that open source? You just want to know that you actually have standardized components so that if your memory goes bad, you can swap it out. So we use off the shelf.
My actual question is, though, whether or not it's open source.
So the answer is no, because we're using off the shelf equipment. So there are people who have made open source designs for LTE radios, but we need to use equipment that we can actually go to a carrier like AT&T or T-Mobile or Dish or somebody like that, and they say, what radios are on your network? And if we say it's Bob's radio, they're like, yeah, no, we're not buying your network, right? If I say, oh, we're using Bicells, we're using Blink, we're using, say, both of which we are, We might be using Samsung at some point. We might be using Ericsson at some point. So those are the radios on the network. And then the actual, say the gateway, that's just a standard off-the-shelf fanless PC, of which you can get a bazillion of, right? It's not open source because many people make them. In fact, there are open source designs. In fact, you could actually even use a Raspberry Pi, I suppose, if you wanted to. I've experimented with that. The performance isn't really quite there. And then the rest of it is just software.
Sorry for the interruption. You're very briefly, you're right. Many of the other DePin networks that do offer an open source reference design for their miners, whatever it is that they need you to contribute in mining, many of them do just stick with a reference design of the sort of industry standard Raspberry Pi or Raspberry Pi compute module, and then they work with whatever the team says are the standards to add whatever the required radio hat is, right? The modular pieces that are sort of generally understood to work with Raspberry Pi or your other Rock 64 boards, whatever other typical, right, low power compute modules are currently popular, right? So that's why I'm asking, because there are so many other designs that allow for the use of commodity hardware, which, to be very frank, when you get into any kind of telecom add-ons, right? Very quickly, you do see, if you're not just a hobbyist, very quickly you do see that there are standards, like you're saying, and it's upscale, but there are standards, and it's still commodity hardware though that could be open source. That's why I was asking. Sure,
and again, like, I appreciate the spirit of the question, but the reason, for example, Linux took off is that you didn't have to have some special open source hardware to run Linux. You could just buy a commodity machine and put your open source software on there. I beg to differ. That's why AMD graphics cards took off, was because of the open source nature of their drivers, which was supported. Exactly, the software. Yeah. That's right. That's commercial. That's commercial hardware. The full commercial hardware. Which they have supported. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to leverage things you can just buy, that you don't have to go and make. And so we don't have supply chain constraints. So one of the big challenges with the early growth of Helium is that their radios were made by small companies. And don't get me wrong, I think it was a great civic-minded thing to say, hey, we're open sourcing our miner design, anybody can make it. That's awesome. But then their growth was being constrained by the ability of those small firms to supply that mining equipment. And we're saying, no, just buy the commodity stuff. And you don't have to get it from us. You can go direct to the manufacturer and you can buy these radios and then you can plug them into our gateway and it just works. And again, that gateway is standard commodity hardware. The only thing special is the software. The only thing special is the network backend. And by basically making this all a software play, saying this is all based on commodity hardware, it frees us from the supply chain constraints that have bedeviled a whole lot of DePin projects before. Okay, my apologies. I think that maybe I think I phrased my question incorrectly, and I apologize. I think we were talking past each other for a moment there. So I was really just asking about commodity hardware, and then whether or not it could be you didn't have the supply chain constraint, because exactly half of the hardware stack for Helium and other projects is easy to get a hold of. It's that last little bit that makes it actually useful. That was the bottleneck. Yeah. So right now, if you happen to have a Bicels 430 radio or a Bicels 846 radio, which is their big iron, and you want to bring it up on the XNet network, reach out to me. I can give you a little device that you plug it into, and again, that device is basically a fanless server, and it works. And we're also bringing up Wi-Fi, and right now, with our Wi-Fi offload, we're experimenting with putting that gateway effectively in the cloud, and maybe, heck, we'll put it on Fleek. I think Fleek seems awesome. And there are latency issues and so forth that we have to look at there. But we actually want to even decrease the hardware requirements even further, because ultimately, I want there to be as few barriers to you deploying and operating our network as possible, so that we can all collectively together build the next generation of mobile connectivity. And then, by the way, once we have enough of our radios out there, then we don't need the legacy telcos anymore. We can just provide direct, point-to-point, basically, if you will, wallet-to-wallet mobile communications that bypass the whole SIM card and everything else. And ultimately, that's going to be the future of mobile, and that's where we all want to get to. That's awesome. Can I offer some praise from earlier on? You said a word earlier, Richard, that I think is dear to every investor's heart, and that's cash flow. You mentioned
You're already you have real world demand for what it is that you're doing there, and cash flow. I'm curious if you could just out of curiosity, if you could lay out for me what the current sources of cash flow are, and whether or not currently supplying radios with value added pre-flashing, if that is a profit center or if that's relied upon at all by the team.
So we're a small, scrappy company, and we've all been through this kind of investment winter recently that was super challenging. So yes, we do provide hardware, and we do make a little bit of money on that. We certainly can't lose money on that hardware; that would be a disaster. But we also encourage people, if they have compatible hardware, they can just use it, right? So we do make a little bit of money on the radios, but honestly, I've just been talking to a group that is saying, hey, we want to deploy something like 10,000 radios over the next 5 years and blah blah blah. Can we get them straight from the manufacturer? I'm like, oh please. I sort of want to be in the middle of that. We want to make money on providing service. So right now, so let's say there's a coffee shop in San Francisco, I won't name its name, that has deployed the part of our early trial for our Wi-Fi program. They've deployed, basically it's a $99 Wi-Fi 6 radio. And we may or may not be actually offering that particular radio on our product page soon. But anyway, it's a nice little $99 radio. And that thing is actually making money, call it about $2 a day worth of paid AT&T data, right? So that means that AT&T customers go past that coffee shop, their phones see that Wi-Fi as though it's a mobile, basically almost like it's a cell tower. And I could go into why that is. Their phones hop on, and then AT&T is paying us for that data. And then what we're doing is right now, if you deploy one of our radios, we're basically doing an 80% revenue split, where 80% of the money that we're bringing in from that radio, we're using to buy and burn those tokens. So we issue tokens to the radio operators. We reward them based on the data that they're serving. And then we use 80% of the money we're taking in for Wi-Fi to buy those tokens off the network and burn them. And so that's how we're effectively doing a revenue share with folks. And we're also negotiating mobile roaming agreements. And for those who've been following XNet, that's been kind of a painful process. And do I have a complete roaming agreement that just needs to be signed? Yes, I do. We also have others in progress, but we have our mobile operator telling us they wanted to wait on the timing of the signing of that agreement. That's fine, whatever. They want to play their games. But then that becomes another source of data, which is actually true mobile roaming data. And that's ultimately where the big bucks come in when we're playing the long game. But yeah, we have money flowing in right now for data. We do make a little bit of money on selling radios. And honestly, I'd much rather get out of that business. I'd much rather just be in the business of providing data services. And we also do some work where we install rural and remote connectivity. So there's a little town in Utah, in Beaver, Utah, where we're putting up radios, and we're working with a Utah-based charity there to provide connectivity there. And that's going to be accessible for everyone. It's going to be used by the emergency responders in that town. That'll be usable by anybody who has a compatible, phone. And we do that kind of work, and we get a little bit of money to set up those radios. But the goal there is not to make money doing that; is to be able to support the growth of networks in places that otherwise would not have mobile service.
Hey, Rich, really cool stuff. Guys, I got to cut everyone off because we got to get to the community, and we want to read some questions and comments from the community. This has been a titillating space, been very interesting, been learning a lot. It's gotten pretty into the weeds, even for me, as like someone that's been in crypto for like just going on almost a decade now. Some of it was over my head. So I hope the audience was able to follow along. I hope we learned something. But yeah, let's get to some community questions. We may have some time to ask the panelists some questions or hear comments. But here, I'll read some stuff from the community. Patrick says, Crypto Rock, you going to ask for Benzu, not Box, the question to Benzu again. Let's set DePin on fire. Yeah, I did. Yeah, so we covered that. He said, big supporter of STOS. I think that's status. Say it again.
Stratus. That's his project. Yep.
Cool. And no, not Patrick.
Ben Zeus.
Oh, yeah. So thanks again, Rock and Aztec, for your amazing spaces, as well as Darren and the whole team behind it. Yeah, of course, no problem. Let's see here. Let's read some more. I'm just going to go down the line here. So, if there's something bad, you'll hear it. GM Polygon. Someone posted a Twitter thread about DePin. This is Pre-Rich Homicon. So if you guys want to read that, you could go read that. Someone posted about they got hacked and they need help. Sorry, can't help you with that. Maybe someone could jump in. Oh, you have 17 comments on your thread, though, so maybe people have jumped in to help you. Pavel says, DePin is gaining traction as it offers a decentralized alternative to traditional cloud infrastructure services with the potential to compete with centralized tech giants. DePin scalability and demand for decentralized redundancies could lead to a surge in utilization rates. Additionally, as a means to mitigate the risks of big tech deplatforming, decentralized infrastructure could see an uptick in demand, further cementing its significance in the market. Yeah, good comment there. I'll give you a follow, Pavel. Said that kind of sounded like you got that from an AI, but that was good.
That was a good point, and I agree. I just think that especially after listening to this panel for the last 3 hours, that there's still a lot of education that needs to happen, and across the board for DePin with projects, and especially from an investor standpoint, but just user and future proofing, like all that. So I'm hoping over time that more DePin projects. I know there's some really big ones. Obviously, Maya was talking about HNT, but I think for the most part, there's still a lot of projects that could use a lot of marketing help or things like that. So I'm hoping to see more marketing and more education in the DePin space over time.
Helium was one that a lot of these have kind of caught that retail interest, and that is part of that bootstrapping of the token that we talked about, and people want to see the token go 10x whatever. But it is a pretty in the weeds and kind of technical topic that maybe if there's more ways to make it retail friendly, which it seems like people are figuring out.
So Rock, if I could jump in on that actually.
Just quickly, so we could, because I want to read more comments from the audience, and we only have 6 minutes. But go ahead.
For sure, real quick. Just hi, I'm TiVo. I'm the producer for Crypto 101. So something I've been seeing is a lot of DePin people getting emails trying to come on our show. It's something that I'm personally not that familiar with, so I took great pleasure in learning a little bit today, but it did get a little over my head. Just an open invite to the panel. I'm the producer. So if you want to DM me to come on the show, we also run some summits. And I know a lot of people shill that paid for play stuff. Everything we do is free. We just try and educate. But if there's somebody that thinks they could try and, educate on DePin to a retail focused community without shilling tokens and maybe bring it down from in the weeds a little bit, please reach out, because I've been getting a lot of emails about it, but I don't really know how to parse through them yet. So open invite into our DMs and I can give you my email and try and get you guys scheduled. And we'd love to learn more about the DePin community.
Yeah, cool. We like helping other shows that are trying to educate people, and I respect that you said you don't take money from people.
No.
Same thing with this show.
No, none of that.
Yeah, same thing with this show. We've never taken $1 from anyone. The only thing we ever have taken is we've allowed some projects to give away stuff to our community. And by the way, we haven't done that in a while. Let's get the giveaways back, guys. Let's start getting some NFTs and tokens and stuff to our community.
I got some of that.
Do you meme tokens still?
Not it. Okay, guys. So on this topic, I can say that today we have announced our liquidity rewards program for ETHRD Cloud. So we will reward ECLD tokens to the community of QuickSwap, Polygon, our own community we have built along, and this is a way of welcoming everybody while connecting what we have done so far with the DeFi space. I think it's very important to connect and cross over the bridge to the DeFi space. Since for now we have focused on building technology, now we're looking at expanding it through the market. And yeah, this way I want to thank QuickSwap and Polygon for inviting us here. I can confirm we haven't paid anything.
Cool. Yeah, we've never taken any payments from anyone, and some other shows do. I won't call out the shows that do, but there are. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like for a show of our size, we were voted by several publications and analytics platforms and things like Super Spaces and a bunch of analytics platforms voted. We were voted number one podcast or spaces in 2023 by a bunch of different people. That was really cool. We by analytics numbers, we've hit as high as number 2 for like listeners and engagement, and we've never taken any money from anyone, and we have no plans to do that. We pride ourselves on that because it keeps the show neutral. Everything we do on the show is like, how can we best entertain and educate people and get people tuning in, not how can we make money. So I think that's important. I was just actually at the screening for the This Is Not Financial Advice documentary a couple nights ago with like Pro the Doge, Slum Doge Millionaire, and a bunch of others. And he was like kind of the star of the documentary. But I was with someone that I won't mention. Actually, I guess I could mention. No, actually, I won't because I don't want to say that he paid.
No names.
I was with someone who paid, who said they paid. I won't say the name, but the largest Twitter Spaces paid them $30,000 to be on their space, and I've heard that a ton of times. So this is happening a lot. You have to realize when you're listening to some of these shows that a lot of it is paid content, and we don't do that.
And I'll just fess up. I am a professional marketer, ergo B, a dirty capitalist. I will gladly take your money for spaces or for any other promotional work you ask me to do. If it does represent value and work, yeah, I'm asking you for money. Just to be very clear.
If it's disclosed properly, it's totally fine, right? I'm CEO of a marketing company. I am not against that, and I think KOLs should get paid. People hosting things could get paid. Just our show is not about that. It's about a neutral message to the community. But I think if you are taking money for something, like if you're a Twitter space and you're taking $30,000 from someone to let them speak on your space, you should disclose that very clearly to the public, because otherwise that's deceitful to me.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And we're capitalists as well. We have our own community. We take ads, sponsors for our shows. We just want to make sure that the people in the community building, like, we're not charging them. But we're all capitalists, I think, here.
Wait, so Zach, are you going to return the money to me now?
Who are you? Are you talking about me, Zacharias? We never.
No, it's me. No, just trolling anybody.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let me read some more comments, guys, and then we're gonna have to call it. I want to be on time to the Doge Chain Spaces, which is the Polygon layer 2 of Doge with smart contracts. So we're always super late to that. Today I want to be a little less late, but I want to get to the community here. But the conversation started really heating up at the end, so we didn't get as much time for community as kind of always. But we're gonna do it now. Jared says. With a purple heart says, GM, time to go mainstream indeed. Someone, AOKG says, how do you purchase Wrapped-Matic? He got 11 replies, so clearly someone told him. Miggy to crypto, or Miggy squared crypto says, sound interesting, teach me more. Hung the Duck says, nice to connect with you all here. QuickSwap and tagged QuickSwap Dex. Someone is saying they got scammed and needs help. Husky T says, what a fiery topic. Understanding Crypto says, let's go Bin. I think is that the Binzu guy, I think. Let's see. Crypto 101 podcast says, great spaces, everyone. Thanks for having us. BK says, well, that was disappointing. Maybe tell those not to monopolize the mic to go on their rants. Okay, sorry. I don't know who you're talking about there. You could comment who you're talking about and we'll give them a spanking. Maybe it was me. Someone said, have nice days to you, QuickSwap. Someone said, I'm learning a lot. Someone said, GM. Someone said AI.
Rock, I think Seth is volunteering to spank you. He raised his hand right when you said that.
Don't tell Cindy.
I was trying to take a bullet for you, sir. I was going to say no.
Oh.
I was trying to jump in front of that and just say it was probably me. Anytime they complain, it was me.
I would have preferred the spanking, but that's all right. Next time. Someone says, great to connect with everyone here. Someone's Coolie Boss, who has a Drugged Huskies PFP that's kind of cool, says, Honey Hive Mapper has been doing well for me, driving and earning every day. DePin will be huge once people catch on. Someone says, no, all bots. Okay. Someone says, that's the guy who keeps saying he got scammed. So maybe a bot, I don't know, someone scammed this guy. Sorry, buddy. Gencraft AI says, girl with blonde hair wearing that's an ad. Oops, sorry. Someone said hashtag STOS. Someone said hashtag AIOZ, who I think was on today. Someone hashtag
Stratos was on today as well. STOS, I believe, is the ticker. Yeah. They were on as well.
Someone said ECLD. Was that one from today? Is that? Oh, that's Eternity Cloud. Yeah. And then someone else said Eternity Cloud and hashtag DePin and hashtag Polygon. Someone said, if anyone is interested in Stratus Network, here's their performance. And they posted a thread with a chart showing their performance versus, it looks like, Google Drive, upload and download speeds. Cool. Someone is, this is like the second or third person that is like shilling any Inu. I guess it's probably a meme coin or something from their PFP. Someone said Eternity Cloud's the best. Someone says, hilarious that I lost all my money. Bro, I'm sorry that you got scammed. I don't know what you're talking about, man, but there's a bunch of comments replying to you, so I'm sure someone will help you. I'm not trying to make fun of you. But yeah, moving on. This space is it's a scary space, guys. You got to be really careful because people will get scammed. Someone says, I'll bring all my cats into the box. CIB, trade on QuickSwap. I don't know what that is, but funny little GIF there. Somebody says, we are Eternity Cloud with a bunch of emojis. Another person says, Inu. Someone says, Stratus Network is a game changer for DePin. Someone #tagged Baby Yoda. Mattis Berharka says, give the word to Binzu as well. Many people here would like to hear his point of view. Yeah, he had some good insights. Let's see, a couple more here. I'm going to stop reading these shills. But someone says, tokenization is here to stay for sure. Another Eternity Cloud. Someone says, #AI baby. Another Stratus Network person talking about how it's great. Let's see. Someone's saying, I think it's Wi-Fi map. They're saying it's a game changer.
Can I ask a question, if you don't mind, before you end up?
Sure.
So I think the DePin stuff is cute. I think that the one thing that I've been asking myself, try to put myself, like my shoes into newbie shoes, is security. So is there an approach to security or an incentivization to securing the network on an individual node basis?
Okay, I'm sorry, Fidgetal, and good to see you, brother. Wish we had you on a little earlier, but that is probably too deep of a conversation because we're going to end in like 1 minute here. Sorry, man. But really good to see you. And if anybody has actually an answer, he gave me a thumbs down. Come on, bro. If someone has an answer for him, though, can they post it in the comments and tag him? And then we can maybe get an answer there about security. I mean, we did talk about that quite a bit today, actually, I think. So maybe listen to the recording as well.
Yeah, we can discuss about it if you want. I'm open to this kind of discussion.
Cool. Okay, done with comments. Gonna shout out some audience members real quick. We always do this to thank the audience for coming. If you guys do some purple hearts or thumbs up or thumbs down or something in the audience, maybe I'll get to you because we can only reach out to somebody. Okay, so Luke Berkfeld, he's over at Medieval Empire. I hear it's a great game. I haven't tried it yet. Taryn is here. Hey, Taryn. Pete Schroeder from Director at Circle. I see him a lot in the audience. Good to see you. And by the way, loving the Coinbase. By the way, people might not know this. I just found this out recently, but you can cash out USDC for 0 fee on Coinbase, and it's through Circle. And you could get 5.5% on Coinbase. As treasury, like they're staking, they have treasury bonds and you can just put your USDC with no lockup times. I don't work for Coinbase, guys, but I thought that was really interesting and a lot of my friends didn't know about it. I was using crypto.com before and they were like scamming me with hidden fees. So fuck them. I hope they don't hear that because a lot of our projects are listed there. But okay, let's go. Pippi, Rainbow, Jared, Goobs, Baby Yoda, Paul with a 4, German Bombshell, Exodus
Patrick,
Wallet. What's that?
Patrick's in the house.
Patrick.
We got CryptoWriter.Polygon. That's
Go ahead,
a
take
friend of
over.
mine. No. I'm trying to add in with you, bro. You got the Corgi crew here. There's a bunch of it's an NFT project. So I just wanted to shout them out as well. Bunch of Aavegotchi homies, and of course we got the Black Hearted Bouncer. That's Marshall who helps us. Really with a ton of the BD, as well as Darren, who is sitting behind the QuickSwap handle, producer Darren. I don't know if you have some.
CryptoWriter.Polygon is giving some purple hearts. Follow me. I'll follow you back. We had, I think Sarah P130 was giving some purple hearts. We've got Dogechain Maxi. I'll follow you back too. We've got Moondaddy. Who?
Essie. They've joined us before. I see them in the audience as well. So shout out to you guys.
What is this PFP? I'm seeing a bunch of the same PFP of some dogs and like.
Yeah, that's the Corgi crew. Yeah.
Oh wow, there's a lot of them here.
Yeah, they recently they came from Crow, I believe, but their NFT collection is now on Polygon as well. So I might be saying that wrong. I believe so. I've been chatting with Crypto Writer off and on about like various like Polygon initiatives. So I picked up a little bit.
Nice. Cool. All right, we should probably get to the next show, but Yusuf Bektis, a couple more. There's a lot of people giving hearts. We'll read you guys out. Give you guys some shout outs for being interactive. Zendoodle.eth, Oki Jednim with the green hearts. Let's see. We've got Putri Leo. We've got Hyder, Country Crypto CA. We've got Dank Weed NFT, Mr. Ray Guy. Oh, a guy, Barberology. You have a picture of some gold nuggets. I was just talking to someone about this. I think at that documentary, actually, we were having dinner beforehand, and I was saying, I have a lot of physical gold coins, but I want to get some gold nuggets. Does anyone have a gold nugget connection? Where do you find gold? I don't even know.
I don't know anyone with a gold nugget, like gold
I want
bars.
some raw gold, You
just want a big old chunk?
I want some gold flakes and nuggets. Something raw, and that would be kind of fun. Okay. All right, guys. Great show. Speakers, go ahead and say bye, and we'll wrap up here.
I really wish we had a couple more hours for DePin because I feel like we barely scratched the surface. I know it's kind of it's crazy to say, and there was a lot that went over my head, to be honest. And I think there's so much opportunity for DePin. So I wish we had more time, just because I'd love to better understand it, better understand the opportunity, how people can get involved, like those things. So I'm a little sad that the space is already ending, but anyways, yeah, great space, very interesting, very technical.
Oh yeah, by the way, guys, the next topic we're going to be talking about is is Dogechain moving to ZK EVM, and then also, but the big topic they'll be talking about, or we'll be talking about over there, is ordinals. For those who haven't seen, ordinals have surpassed like other NFT volume. Bitcoin ordinals surpass like all other chains NFT volume. And there's now, because Bitcoin ordinals minting fees are very expensive, now you're seeing some of this flow over into Doge ordinals, which is really interesting because it's a lot cheaper there to mint them. So that's a big community, especially in like the Southeast Asia and Japan and stuff. But if anyone wants to join that conversation, that I think there's a ton of ordinals pros there, because I don't know anything about it, but we'll learn there. Keep learning together. So yeah, panelists, go ahead. I think most of the panelists are gone at this point, but those who are still here, go ahead and give a goodbye.
Yeah, it was a great space. Thanks so much. And as soon as
thank you.
Rock hooks me up with a Polygon dev, I am actually thinking to launch my NFTs on Polygon. Oh my god, I'm super excited. So we're currently
Yeah, I didn't want to spill your alpha, so I didn't say anything. But awesome, hell yeah!
Rock is always busy. I know, like we've DM'd before. Reach out to me. I could connect you with devs as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Aztec is real plugged in. He can definitely send you to the right people.
Let me ask you this too. While I have you here, are you already in contact with Magic Eden?
So I can't remember his name, but there is this guy that I'm speaking with on Magic Eden. But if you have a different connection, connect. I support everyone who's building in the space, and I'm very, very chain agnostic. But I feel like Polygon is stealing my. Oh my god.
Cool. You broke up a bit there at the end, but
and we will support you for sure, Maya. If you launch your collection on Polygon, you know you have our support already.
Yeah, 100%. So my lead, I hope I'm not breaking out, but my lead is actually the person is an ex-Tesla engineer who worked directly under Elon Musk. So whoever you guys are connecting me with is going to be working with him directly, which is it's going to be a great collaboration.
Awesome, cool. Seth and Eternity, you want to go ahead and say bye?
Yeah, guys, thank you very much for the invitation and the organization. Thank you very much. I want to spread the support and the thanks for the support from our community that joined in quite big numbers. And thank you guys for support. And yeah, let's move this forward.
Yeah, and thank you so much for holding the space, for inviting me back and having me on stage. This is something that I'm passionate about because there is kind of a legacy in DePin of proof of work and a lot of overlap in the earlier days of DePin. So for me, it's something where I've got a lot of experience and a lot of the network of content creators that made that proof of work style content with me 5-6+ years ago. A lot of us have been tracking this as well because it speaks to our hobbies, right? Of being kind of tech heads and gear heads and getting our hands dirty with IT, but then possibly getting paid for it, right? By being with these incentive systems. So very passionate, and I'm just so grateful you guys invited me back for this one. Really, you guys do some of the best spaces, and I'm proud and privileged to be a part of it. I will say, sometimes this time of day, though, because depending on how long you stayed out at night or how you adjust your schedule, this time of day really kicks me in the culo. But thank you.
Same, bro. Trust me. Same. This is the earliest I wake up of any day of the week for sure. I only do it for this spaces. One of the main reasons we did that was because there were certain big speakers we wanted to kind of work around their schedule. Like Sandeep sometimes comes and he's in Dubai, and we tried to find a time that works for him, and other big speakers that we have on regularly. So yeah, cool. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, real quick, guys, it's funny. Seth, is there a meme coin called Kulo? Is it on Polygon?
Well, actually,
Ethereum?
Aztec, it doesn't exist yet, but it is launching on Polygon very, very soon. So anybody who hears about this gets the opportunity to join a fair launch and get access the same way anybody else would, including their team.
That's so funny because you said that, and then I remember the memes from last week. Someone was posting some Kulo memes or something. Anyways. My bad, Rock. I know you're trying to shut it down.
Next time, because look, we're 15 minutes late to the next spaces as always, no matter how hard we try. Darren, I need you to strong arm all of us. And next time at 30 minutes to the hour, I need you to do a big buzzer sound or something and cut everyone off and we start on community. Because what I would really like to do is even maybe earlier than that, because I want to read the questions and then give the panelists the time to respond to them and dig into some of these. So instead of us asking questions, let's let the community ask more questions. So Darren,
we got to have someone
cut us all off.
Rock, I think we need to have someone while the questions are being asked, have someone pick the best ones. So it's not just this go down and the list kind of thing where you get some good stuff.
I like that. Yeah. We just should do it throughout the show. If there's a good question, that's the next question. Forget our we
need someone from our internal team to find those and then just pitch it at us. Yeah,
maybe Darren. Yeah, that or Marshall or someone. Yeah,
cool. All right, that's a good point.
Gotta go, guys. Gotta cut it off. All right, cheers, everyone. See you on the next spaces. Bye-bye.